The following podcast contains adult language and themes, so don't say we didn't fucking warn you.
You're listening to SarahTalk. It's political.
You could run a fucking pet rock against Donald Trump, and I would vote for the pet rock.
Yeah.
That's where we're at right
Yeah.
Critical.
One of the things that drives me nuts as an atheist is that my polling location is at a church. And I don't necessarily have a problem. I'm not going to like burst into flames walking into a church.
Now, after being on this show and having heard your viewpoints on some things, my advice to you is don't test this. I won't burst into flames.
And positively LGBT positive.
In many states, you can still be evicted from housing simply for being gay or transgender. Stand and fight with us.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
I don't know if you've ever seen a lightning bug, but he flies around with a flame, a light coming out of his behind. The lightning bug got a flame coming out of his butt.
It's a beautiful night tonight. All the sodomites are out.
And now, from Orlando, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
Hey everybody, welcome to SarahTalk. I am Sarah Austin, in the studio with my lovely wife Becca, as always.
Hello.
We're trying a little closer camera setup tonight,
so you can see our acne.
We need some better lighting in here, but it's too hot for that. You're lucky that we have a light on.
And a makeup artist.
I don't know that I'd go that far.
No?
Nah.
We're not that big yet, I guess.
No, that's all right. So my apologies to Dan tonight, who will be unable to see the coasters
I'm going to try
light
my
up.
hardest to remember to just do this.
There you go. Oh, with the coaster and everything? Okay. That works. Okay, so again, just another reminder, November 6th, big important day, election day. Study your candidates, go vote. And then if you want to listen in, we'll be doing a live show that night. I don't really know how this is going to work because the kids will be here and and it's a school night. So I don't know how that's going to work.
It'll be interesting.
But we're going to do it anyway. And speaking of kids, we're going to kick one under the table if he doesn't quiet down.
Yes, you need to quiet down, little gorilla.
Okay, so anyway, we've got some people coming in studio that night. We've got several podcasters, friends of the show lined up to call in. We're going to have open phone lines, and if you want to call in and chat with us about things that are going on in the election in your area and any particular races that you're following, we'll be taking your calls. So for tonight, I just want to say that we listen to you. We heard you. What was it you asked? We listen?
Oh, that's a throwback.
Deep cut. So tonight there will not be any Catholics raping children.
What?
There will not be any crazy people out in the desert with children on their weird religious farm training to go out and be missionaries or whatever that crazy thing was.
Yeah.
None of that tonight.
Really?
Tonight we're going to do good news and good news only.
Okay, I like the way this is sounding.
Now, it was hard to find good news. As you know, I normally come in here armed with about 9 pages of stories that I've written up.
I see one.
4 pages tonight. 4 pages. That's it. That's all I've got. Now, that said, in the second half of the show, we're going to watch back the President Obama speech in Illinois, and that's about an hour long. So if you've already listened, if you watched the speech, which you should, because it was great, you don't have to stick around for that if you don't want to. But to entice you to do so, I'm going to put the Florida man after the...
Oh, that's just mean. Wow.
Hey, people know how to hit the 15-second skip button 4,000 times. Just slide the little bar across, right?
It's true. I feel bad for those in the live chat that want the Florida man tonight, but don't want to listen to Obama.
Well, okay. Now, along with this, I have to make a confession.
Oh.
This is a new segment we're calling.
Wow, there's so many things you could confess though. So where are you going?
Well,
with this, Sarah?
I want to confess that this isn't entirely about I heard you, and I'm listening and responding. A lot of this is me. I have been battling depression again lately, and I don't know if this is like midlife crisis or
oh shit,
what's going on, but I'm gonna be 40 next year, so the math works out. But yeah, so I've been struggling with depression, as you know. The job that I have is good and it pays the bills, but the trade-offs make life really hard. I'm struggling with smoking again that I had kicked for a long time. So there's just, sometimes you just need some good news. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. But first, sorry, I promise I will turn this good.
I was all
listen.
excited, and then you just sucked all the air out of my chest.
All right, now I made a confession. Do you want to make any confessions?
I don't have any confessions.
Okay, that's not true.
Oh?
I don't know. You told me
That's
I had a
not
whole
true.
bunch.
Well, yeah. I don't hide anything.
Okay.
The only stuff I hide are purchases that she can clearly look up on the QuickBooks.
This is true.
So,
You're not wrong. Okay, so you there's no way that you could have possibly missed Hurricane Florence in the news.
And if you did, what rock are you living under?
So Florence made landfall early yesterday morning near Wilmington, North Carolina. I was sitting at work watching all of this play out.
Okay. I'm sorry. I have to pause for a minute. You said we were going to talk about
We
good
are.
news.
Stay with me. We
okay.
are.
It doesn't sound like it's.
There is a silver lining, not a silver lining, but there's a.
Oh
just stay with me.
Okay, go on.
Florence made landfall early yesterday morning near Wilmington, North Carolina, traveled along the coast south, which was a strange turn, about 70 miles into South Carolina, then turned west, moving inland. It's downgraded to a tropical storm, which still comes with some pretty strong winds and flooding. There's all of the rivers are flooded out. Homes with water up to their windows or roofs.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be keeping, the people affected in the Carolinas and Virginia in our thoughts. But as always, if you're in a position to do something to help, actually do something to help,
Right.
Please do it. Thoughts and prayers don't help anybody. Foundation Beyond Belief has a hurricane disaster recovery fund that you can donate to. And I switched our Quick Link last night. So if you go to SarahTalk.com/act, it will take you right to the recovery fund from Foundation Beyond Belief.
Cool.
Now, yes, I realize this is supposed to be a good news episode, right? And
Dan, I love you.
oh, what I miss.
He says Sarah's fighting so hard to actually do happier
I'm trying
stories.
so hard.
So far,
But
fail. You know what?
Okay, no, listen. Stay with me.
Okay, I'm.
I know this is supposed to be a good news episode, right? And the best way to the best way to deal with stress is sex, but we can't do that on Facebook Live, sadly. But it wouldn't translate to the podcast audience anyway.
It really wouldn't.
So we'll just have to laugh instead. That brings us to televangelist and closest living thing to actual zombie Jesus, Pat Robertson, who called upon the Christian Broadcasting Network sheeple to pray away Hurricane Florence.
Pray away a hurricane.
Yep.
Wow.
But, you see, this isn't just any holy request. See, the cone of possibility, when he was doing this, the cone of possibility had his CBN studios, like, in the crosshairs. Now, CBN, where the 700 Club is produced, is in the southeastern corner of the state, like 13 miles off the coast near Chesapeake, Virginia. So,
if that hurricane, veers off and goes up into the Atlantic, it'll be harmless and no lives will be lost. No property will be damaged. What could be a multi-billion-dollar property damage will be averted. And I just believe you and I together. The Bible says, where two of you agree on earth as touching anything that they will ask, it'll be done for them by my Father which is in heaven. Now, this is the same Jesus who commanded the wind and the waves when he was out on the Sea of Galilee. He said, peace, be still.
You know, I kind of like talking about, like, normally we would have played this beforehand, before the event. But I kind of like doing this post thing, because here's the thing. Guys like this never get challenged after the fact.
Right.
Right? Nobody in his congregation is going to come back to him and be like,
why would they?
What happened?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, what manner of man is this? The wind and the waves obey him. They will obey our voice if we are together with one accord. Now, together, I'm asking all of us to believe God. I don't want that thing to come in. I don't want it to hurt Region. I don't want it to hurt CBN. I don't want it to tear up these beautiful campus. I don't want to tear these trees down. I don't want to see any damage. I don't want a bunch of glass flowing.
Glass flowing. I think he got confused.
He's 137 years old.
Well, I guess it'd be easy to get confused.
And I don't want all over this area that's counting on us to pray for them.
You know, he started with my CBN studios, and I don't want bad things to happen to my stuff, right?
My stuff, and then everybody around me, because however far the circumference of God's protection is.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So I'm going to ask you right now, put your hand out toward the Atlantic, wherever it is.
Oh my God, are you serious right now?
He doesn't even know where it is. Put your hand out toward the Atlantic, wherever.
Wow.
It's around here somewhere, guys. Hold on.
Is the pulpit facing east or west? Put your left hand in. Put your left. Oh my God.
And let's speak a word right now. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. You Hurricane Florence, we speak to you in the name of Jesus.
There's a hurricane here.
The people they're all like,
oh yeah,
they're actually participating.
Hands in the air. Oh, sure they are.
I mean,
sure
some of them are a little farther east than, I don't know what way the church faces.
Well, again, as long as two of them have their hand facing in the right direction.
Right. What are the odds that none of them do and the whole church gets demolished?
And we command the storm to cease its forward motion and go harmlessly into the Atlantic. Go up north, away from land, and veer off in the name of Jesus. We declare in the name of the Lord that you shall go no farther. You shall do no damage in this area.
But of course, that's not what happened.
At all?
Nothing close to that at all.
I think they had their hands facing the wrong way.
We declare a shield of protection all over Tidewater. And we declare a shield of protection over those innocent people in the path of this hurricane. In Jesus' holy name, be out to sea. In Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Let's praise God. Yes, amen. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. And we will live to mark this day and say, I remember I was there, and when we saw that Hurricane Florence averted, we're going to believe God. And Jesus said, when you speak to the mountain and you don't doubt in your heart, it will do the thing that you command it to do.
Ah, shit. We found the loophole. Somebody had doubt in their heart.
Actually, I think this is just scientific evidence that God doesn't answer prayers.
No, because if two people face the same mountain with their hands in the same direction and they don't doubt, that's important.
Right.
See,
but if it was God's will that it be done, then no amount of praying would prevent that. So maybe God is just a murderous bastard.
And I believe it with all my heart that if we don't doubt in our faith, this hurricane will be dispelled. We saw it happen in 1960. I've seen it in year after year after year. Hurricanes tried to get in here and they couldn't do it. It's almost hilarious to see them try.
I'd like to see the success rate of your methodology. Yes, hurricanes naturally turn away sometimes, and sometimes they don't. And you can, like, I don't know, follow the weather patterns in the region. Just
They try to get in and they can't, and then they go north and they turn around and try to come back in. They can't do it. God has put a shield around it, and that shield has been reactivated today.
Did anybody just have like a Laurel and Hardy or a Three Stooges vision in your head of the storm like racing around? And it'll come back down this way, and I can't get in.
Victoria says, someone tell Pat hurricanes have eyes, not ears.
Oh, I didn't have it on.
Oh.
Damn it all now.
You're fired. So fired. Hold on. I'll try it again.
I'll put it, okay.
Victoria says, someone tell Pat hurricanes have eyes, not ears.
Hey, there we go.
You're going to have to edit that.
I got to get better at that. All right, let's finish up old Pat right here.
We are not going to let Hurricane Florence hurt us.
Except you failed.
In Jesus' name. Hallelujah!
You failed in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Okay, that's it.
All right.
So yes. So did God hear the prayers or not? Or did he not care? What about the promise in Matthew 18:19? Again, truly I tell you, if two of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. What happened, Pat? Where's your God? And now this is the kind of garbage. When I was in a one-on-one Bible study with the youth pastor at this Church of God in my early 20s, that's the kind of garbage we were doing. Well, let's open up to Matthew, and we're going to read, this many pages, and I want you to write down all of the truths and all of the promises. Well, here you go. And I would have written that down, and I would have bought into it. And you can't make the argument that enough people didn't pray. Okay, you saw the room full of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm sure at least two of them were pointed the same direction. But you can't make that argument that because Matthew 18:19 says, if two of you on earth agree, right? So I present to you the jury, witness number 2.
Florence, right now, we're speaking of Florence. It's already out there, okay? They've already named it as a hurricane. So we're going to take authority over Florence, and we say you will become nothing. You will not do destruction. And I can't answer that right now, but...
Okay, this is Kerr, who is a self-proclaimed prophetess and weather warrior. Okay, so she puts this up on our Facebook.
I might later. You will not do destruction to land or to people or property. And we command the millibars to rise, rise, rise in Florence. You rise, millibars. You dissipate that storm. You get it downgraded, downgraded, downgraded. And we thank you, host of heaven. We send you into the midst of that storm right now because we took power over all the power of the enemy, driving it, sending it, increasing it to be destructive. And we speak against all that the enemy thinks he's going to do with it. And we command the host of heaven. You get in there. You begin to shred the bands.
Okay, there's so much just in that first half.
Wow.
So first of all, she uses fancy sciencey language to make it sound like she knows what she's talking about. Millibars.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So then we're not going to let the evil... How did she say that? We're not going to let basically, we're not going to let Satan, have his will be done with the storm and tear us up. And we're going to, call on God to fight back. Listen. This is God's arch nemesis, right? This is his... If this were a comic book, right? You have God, you have Satan, right?
Right.
Satan, according to the book, has dominion over the earth right now. This is Satan's place. Okay? So, first of all, what makes you think calling on your God to intervene is going to do any good? Why doesn't he just put an end to it already? If he's so powerful, why doesn't he just put an end to it already?
I couldn't tell you.
Because he's not real.
Other than that answer, I wouldn't be able to answer it.
Those
Assuming
bands,
it's real.
you see them, that's what causes that spiral effect in the storm. It creates bands, and some of them become outer bands, and then the ones closer to the center, the wind is much stronger there. So when we command the host...
She sounds like your grandma who just moved to Florida 3 months ago.
Who thinks she's a hurricane now?
Specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have issues.
Yeah, I know.
So we need to
shred these bands. They literally will cut them up. All right? Like you cut your pretzels up or your bread up. It really does happen. And so I just want to give you that visual. We can do destruction to the plans of the enemy. And then the bands begin to separate and dissipate, and the storm gets weaker. So we declare that over Florence. It's going to become weaker and weaker. It will be downgraded.
Okay, so to be clear, neither of these people have a great track record when it comes to God stopping natural disasters. Kerr tried to pray away subtropical storm Alberto, Hawaii's volcano eruption, and the wildfires of California, and some fucking weather warrior she is. Again, it's obvious that prayer is useless. So head to SarahTalk.com/act, donate to the Foundation Beyond Belief Recovery Fund if you can. If you're able to travel or you live near the affected areas, there's certainly going to be recovery and cleanup efforts in the weeks to come that will need people. And here's one that everybody forgets: go give blood.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a perpetual shortage of blood at all times, and we really shouldn't wait for a disaster to give, but it's here. Now's the time, right?
Another thing I saw is there's going to be a lot of displaced pets and animals, and if you can take one in, it's, I mean, there was people that were lining up to foster animals so that the humane societies up there could evacuate. They were in the evacuation zones and they wouldn't leave because they didn't want to leave animals there.
Right.
So there was like lines around the block at some of these locations. So there's just so many different ways you can help. Find one and do it.
So anyway, get out there, do something, be helpful, right? Let's make a difference for people. Not just thinking and praying. So last week we shamed you for falling for that made-up article about a guy burning his house down while burning his Nikes. Not true. Fake news.
Fake news.
And while the backlash to this decision by Nike to stand behind Colin Kaepernick seems strong, there is some good news. Edison Trends reported this week that Nike sales grew 31% from Sunday through Tuesday over Labor Day weekend this year, compared to last year's 17% increase over the same period. Now, you can read these statistics a lot of different ways, right? Sales reports over the same periods of time from, 1 year to the next is, that's not always apples and apples, right? We did that at Disney. We'd have forecast, expected guest forecast of how many people we thought were going to come based on last year's figures. But you also have to factor into that, weather and the socioeconomic climate of the United States. If people can't afford to travel and go on, so there's certainly there could be other factors contributing to this. But the takeaway here for all the right-wing hoopla about boycotting Nike, you might have expected to see that number either stay stagnant or maybe drop a little bit. But Nike's on the right side of history here, and I think that's we're showing that.
I forget who it was. It wasn't one of the Beatles. There was a quote going around, and I thought it was hilarious because I'd never seen it before. But apparently, there was like a boycott on their albums or whatever back in the day.
Sure.
And they were like, people were burning their albums, breaking their albums, all this stuff. One of the Beatles, I can't remember, maybe somebody knows, said, "Are they buying the album?
Yeah.
All right, then I don't care. They can
do whatever you want with it. Yeah.
Like you've already spent the money.
I got your money.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Well, one such person who contributed that bump in sales, Jim Carrey. Now, before I do this, let me tell you, I have never been a Jim Carrey fan.
What? But he's so funny. You can't tell
Are
right
you
now if I'm
mocking me
being
right now? I
sarcastic or if I'm
can't
kidding.
tell.
I still have power.
Ugh.
I love Jim Carrey.
I hate Jim
I love
Carrey.
him. I love him. I think he's hilarious. Oh gosh, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, the first one, not the other one. The first one was the best. I loved that movie.
Okay.
I have no idea why, but it was so funny.
I don't know if for me it's the face acting that he does.
Yeah, he's
along with everything.
Yeah.
But to me it feels like with rare exceptions, every fucking character he plays is the same character.
He's typecast, but
he just plays the same character over and
that's
over and
not
over
true.
again.
We'll have a
It's
Jim
true.
Carrey viewing marathon, and I will show you how
I
wrong
don't.
you are.
But listen, so Jim Carrey goes on Bill Maher, and he's changing not about his videos, like not about his acting, but he's changing my mind a little bit.
My brother agrees. Jim Carrey.
I didn't
rules.
ask your brother.
Jim Carrey made in living color. You're right, Dan. Absolutely, I agree with that. Jesse says, so I hate his comedy, but love his more serious roles.
All right. So Jim Carrey goes on Bill Maher.
Yes.
Jim Carrey, everybody. He's really here. Jim Carrey is really here. Great to see you. Look at that. Wow. Everybody loves Jim Carrey.
I love everybody.
Wow.
It's all
look
good.
Look at
check this out.
He puts his shoes up on the table.
Oh, I love this.
I went out today and bought me some Nikes.
Oh, yeah.
Bought me some freedom-friendly Nikes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. That's a salute to Colin Kaepernick, to Nike. Congratulations on your fantastic choice. Thank you so much.
Well,
it's good to be back
it's
in
great to
dystopian America.
Okay.
Love him.
Right? That's
I
great.
just love him.
What a great start. Now, I did cut some things out here because I'm not going to play the entire clip.
It was really good, though.
From Bill Maher, but
y'all need to go watch the whole thing.
I have a couple more clips to play. That's all right.
My favorite movie, and I love many of them, is Cable Guy.
Oh, thank you.
Cable Guy and Truman Show.
Now, I liked Truman Show. I thought Truman Show was pretty good.
Yeah.
But more from a story perspective than from an acting perspective.
Yeah. I knew that.
I feel like they should be on a film festival together. There's something about them that is very prescient about the way the world came to be.
Absolutely.
You think that?
We are parentless. You know? And we are babysat by the television. We're taught how to think by the television. That's the dangerous thing about what's going on right now. There are generations growing up right now who are learning to lie. That lying is okay. That this
kids say fake news.
That you're supposed to hate half the country. You know? And if anything, we've got to get back to a place where we realize that a vote is not who you are. You know, and because you voted Republican, you're not stupid, you're not different, you're not worthless. You know, I could break bread with anybody who voted for Trump. We could find some common ground to love each other through.
Oh, there's a statement we all needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really good. And that comes from someone who is pretty caught up in, you vote, your vote for Trump and Pence is is a direct attack on me, whether you realized it or not. And I think that's the thing is like, it's that let me not assume that all of you hate trans people and that's why Mike Pence is your guy, or you want a Christian theocracy and that's why Mike Pence was your guy. Right.
You know? So just stop doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
That's all we expect.
All right, so
just get it together.
That was very much the in character.
Yeah. I see, but I love that. That's why I love Dane Cook. You're very into the.
I can't do the voice unless I'm.
Yeah, no, I love.
Or the
people.
face.
I love people that are like that animated.
Yeah.
Because you can see it all there. Sorry.
It's okay.
We have a president who started out when the country was together.
So he is. This clip comes in after Bill shows some of his artwork, and one of them is a Wicked Witch of the West version of Trump with some flying monkeys in the background, which he said were Nunez and somebody else. I can't remember now. And then the next one was Abraham Lincoln with like a tear.
Oh.
Right. So they're talking about.
And had a wonderful leader, and he is tearing us limb from limb.
Well,
destroying every institution.
Let's talk about this Donald Trump, even though we don't want to. Let's bring it on the panel.
Yeah.
For this.
He's a car salesman. He's a used
con
car
man.
salesman.
Absolutely.
And he's, you know, he didn't make America great again, but he did turn back the odometer.
Yeah. Yeah, you are not wrong.
So who knows what the hell is wrong with us?
But as I watch,
unfortunately, we're in the back seat, right?
Right.
We're not in
As I watched this week, what I kept thinking was, it all comes down to this case of narcissistic personality disorder. We've all talked about it since you've been on the public scene. But we see it in real time. Somebody really unraveling, spiraling toward madness.
So I'm an asshole? Is that what you're trying to say?
No.
You're talking about
There was a tape of him talking to Bob Woodward, right? We heard that this week. At the end of it, he gets a little frustrated and he says, well, accurate is that nobody's ever done a better job than I'm doing as president. He says, how can you...
What? Job of what? Demolition Man? There's none left!
So good.
That lawn is clean!
A couple of weeks ago, he gave himself an A+. You saw that. Even if you thought these things, to say them out loud as often as he does about himself.
But that's his trick, right? I mean, he kind of says these things that are so outrageous over and over and over again until eventually people think that there must be something there, right?
This is Michelle Goldberg, columnist for the New York Times.
That even if it's not, you know, even if he's not worth $10 billion, he must be worth like $1 billion as opposed to, you know, a few million, or as opposed to being in debt a few million, right?
He reported 100 and he was worth 5.
Right.
So that's the ratio of truth to bullshit with Trump. Basically, anything he says is like, it's 20 to 1. Okay? It's 20 to 1, man.
But when you have this disorder, you know, like when like I was saying before, his personal cabinet now has turned on him. Mm-hmm. The person with this disorder is never going to go, maybe it's me.
No, of course not.
Jim tells a great story here about an old girlfriend that's really funny. But let me also jump in to say that I also have a hard relationship with Bill Maher, because Bill Maher has become like the Milo Yiannopoulos apologist for, you know, the free speech screechers. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I can't because there's too much nuance in that issue. That was the issue that really made me look at Bill Maher again and go, maybe not.
I want to see something interesting. everybody is saying, well, not everybody's. I sound like Trump now. Everybody's saying. Everybody's saying. Go down here saying. This guy over here saying it. The voices in my head are saying.
Yeah. People are saying. That's his thing. People are
I've been on the
saying.
receiving end of one of the tantrums. I met with him twice. And
What'd you do?
Well,
this is Charlie Dent, who's a former congressman, Republican congressman from Pennsylvania.
Well, I told him no 3 times to his face. He took it well the first time. It was the second and third times he didn't take it so well.
Right.
Over the health care issue, when I tried to explain to him what I thought were problems with the bill and Medicaid and the exchanges and Planned Parenthood, and the second time I told him, he said, "Well, are you?" I told him I was opposed to the bill, and he said, "Why?" I said, "This was on a Thursday." And he said, "Why?" He said, "Why?" I said, "Well, for the same reasons I told you on Tuesday, 2 days before." And then I went through the issues, and he cut me off, and he said, "You're going to destroy the Republican Party. I'm going to blame you. It's your fault. The tax reform is going to go down." And it just
You're going to destroy the Republican Party because he couldn't remember what you said on Tuesday.
No. Because I wasn't voting for the health care bill. He said he was going to take down tax reform. I finally interrupted him after about, it seemed like going on forever. This was in the cabinet room getting laid into here. I said, "Mr. President, you telling me that this..."
You said Mr. President?
Of course. Yes, of course. No, but he said...
As an affirmation?
I said, "Mr. President, I'm saying the tax reform bill was going to fail if the health care bill didn't pass." And I said, "Are you telling me if we don't pass this health care bill in this form, we're not going to be able to do tax reform because the baseline's not low enough?" "That's exactly right. When you lose, you lose." And off he went again. And then in the whole room, everybody says, "Yes, Lean, yes." A few lied to him. And then he comes back to me at the end. He said, "You still a hard no?" "I'm still no, Mr. President." He goes off on me again. And then I said, "Well, Mr. President, come on." And he's, "I'm talking to you. I don't want to hear it anymore."
You want to see a mushroom cloud? You want to see a mushroom cloud?
This is big.
Ignore Trump for a week.
Wow.
I had a girlfriend one time, long time ago, and we were having problems. I went to therapy, and the therapist said, "Sounds like your girlfriend's a little bit borderline personality, and she's a narcissist and whatever." And I said, "Well, maybe if I just find a different way to intellectualize or get used to what she's saying, and I could, my comebacks would be different, and I could just accept the fact she's going to be a dick every once in a while, and whatever." And she said, "Please do. Please try for a week to ignore and not react to these buttons that are being pushed."
The thing is, we actually don't
This
want
was
a mushroom
before Twitter.
cloud.
No, I know. We don't want it. But if you
That's a little fly in that ointment, yeah.
I'm saying there needs to be people around them.
Okay, that's that.
Not all.
Well, we
but
had
there
that.
apparently
yeah,
are,
that's
right?
it. Yeah.
What do you think would happen if everybody just ignored him? I mean, first of all, there's how many million people? That's never gonna. You're never gonna get everybody to buy off on that.
I don't see the practicality in it. But
no,
if somehow, there are people that are on his side. Like that's the problem.
Right.
He has that inner circle. He's got Putin
But is that enough?
But
are his closest base people? Is that enough, or does he thrive on the New York Times drama and the people saying things about him drama? And is that too big a component of it that if it was just people telling him how great he was all the time? I don't know him. I don't know.
I think.
But it seems like all of it is so intertwined.
I'm curious to see what happens in the next couple of days here. Like going in Monday, you've got Manafort.
Yeah,
is going to cooperate.
Yep.
And this is like a big deal if he's going to cooperate. In the plea that he made, he's agreed to not even have his attorney present.
Wow. I'll be honest, I've had my head in the sand.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not paying attention to this stuff right now.
So if I wonder, I'm waiting for that blow up because, what's he going to do now? They came out and they've been very quiet. He hasn't even made much of, I think they made a statement that said the plea had nothing to do with anything having to do with Trump.
Right.
That was all they said. But he hasn't even been on Twitter from what I've seen.
I want to pick up Bob Woodward's book.
Yeah.
I want to read this. Fear. so many of the inside stories about, you know, what people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be interesting. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask about, since we have the Democratic consultant here of the last successful election, the Democrats seem to be getting their groove back a little bit, and what I mean by that is that Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Stacey Abrams, Kerry Evelyn Davis, these are all women who won in primaries, weren't supposed to. And they did it with unabashed liberal proposals: Medicare for all, ending student debt, a different approach to the war on terror, ending mass incarceration. It seems like if there is maybe a shining spot in this Trump tragedy, it's that it's made the Democrats sort of rediscover who they are. Mm-hmm. And the voters... Is that what's going on?
Look,
So that's an interesting prospect, right? I certainly know a lot of people, even in our own close circles, who have gotten politically engaged over this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to take that anecdotal evidence for what
Right.
what it's worth, but is that enough, however, to motivate and get our apathetic, lazy people up and out to vote in November? I guess that's the question.
You know, I'd hope so. I think this, sad to say this, but the people that stayed home last time were the people who were disenfranchised by both parties. I'm sure there were plenty of Republicans who said, no, I'm not voting for Trump, so I'm just going to stay home.
Disenchanted. Disenfranchised would mean that somebody is actively keeping you from voting.
Right. That's what I meant. Yeah. But, you know, there were plenty on both sides.
Right. You had the never Trump, never
I wanted
Hillary.
Bernie. I'm not voting for Hillary, so I'm
Right.
just going to stay home.
Right.
So I think that, you know, we can get those people out back to, you know, come out, vote.
Right.
That's the only way you're going to see change.
And I'll say it again. I have been hearing a lot of this vote blue no matter who rhetoric, and I'm here to tell you, Kimberly Daniels is a Democrat who runs a side hustle ministry here in Florida, and she's the one, as bodies lay dead in the school, who suggested that we need "In God We Trust" signs on our schools in order to protect our students from this nonsense. Are you kidding me? She's a Democrat.
Right.
Now, that should have been swept up during the primary. I get that. But it didn't. And in some of her races, she even ran unopposed.
But didn't Obama allude to it recently, too? I don't know if it's in this thing that we're going to watch, but I had seen a clip of him saying something about, I don't think he came out and said vote blue no matter who, but he was alluding to that.
Yeah,
even
I mean,
if you're,
that's what you're going to get from the party line.
Yeah, I guess.
I think those fundamental issues, health care, job security, you know, and all of the things that are being addressed, whatever form it takes, you're hearing this kind of across the board. Those candidates reflected their districts well. They reflect their constituencies well. You know, Connor Lamb in your state probably has a slightly different slant on these things, but fundamentally the values, I think, are very consistent. And
so, you know, the Republicans are running with the word socialism.
Okay, now, speaking of socialism, there's Bernie.
Everybody's saying how they still want Bernie in the chat, so here's Bernie.
Yeah. Don't we all? Now, the scary socialism word, and Jim's going to talk about this, and he this is the small clip that you shared it, and
I love this.
I saw a lot of people share around. But the broader message is that, you know, we have to decide here and now, I think, because there are a lot of democratic socialists who are moving through the election process. Cortez, for example. we either need to be ready to embrace that term and educate people about the differences between socialism and communism. And that's going to be a long road to hoe because, I mean, we're still stinging from the Cold War communist. You know, that's why you have In God We Trust on and the money and Under God in the Pledge. And it's still close. The younger generations, our kids, even to my generation, that was a history lesson, right? I didn't live through that, really.
Right.
I was born kind of at the end of, like, all of that had kind of fizzled out.
Right.
Right. So it wasn't an active thing for me. For my kids, it will definitely not be.
Sure.
And as we often talked, eventually the silent generation and the baby boomers will no longer be with us. They are the people who are carrying these memories around of what that was like. They're the ones who who have bought the narrative that socialism equals communism.
Right.
Or leads to, at the very least. And so maybe that will change, but I don't know that it will change soon enough for a socialist, maybe a watered-down socialist platform now. I don't know.
I think if you take a look at socialism and communism, and if we were somehow able to take a glimpse at a alternate universe where Bernie won the primaries and Bernie was their president right now.
Right.
I think we are closer now in our real reality to a dictatorship type of.
Oh, sure.
Than we ever could have been with a socialist style healthcare program, education, and, you know, like, so I feel like that has to speak volumes. But people have to be able to take it, look at it, and admit what it is.
Here's the other thing. You vote your wallet, right?
Oh yeah.
Everybody. That's a old famous saying. You vote with your wallet, and you vote what affects you personally, broader than just finances, but finance is a big part of it, right?
Right.
So when I talk to some of my right-leaning friends who still say, well, you know, the economy's doing good and he's still, you know, I wish he would just get off Twitter and stop, you know, making the press the enemy of the people and that kind of stuff. But, you know, the things that the tax cuts and the things that he's doing for business and what they mean to say is, my stocks are doing good.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. It's personally affected you in some way. But let's draw out the map of upper, middle, and lower class, and let's put little dots on where each of us is.
Right.
Because by and large, those people who have that opinion tend to be on the higher end of that scale. They're doing well anyway. And now their investments are making money and paying off. Where I am struggling to pay the bills from one month to the next. And if one major tragedy would happen, we could be homeless. Right?
Yeah.
I don't care what the stuff. I can't care. I can't care about that stuff because it doesn't affect me personally.
The cost of healthcare affects us. The cost of education affects us.
Yes.
The cost of my electric bill because stupid Florida sunshine state won't just give everybody solar.
Yep.
You know, that's
right. We have different. How did we get off onto this?
I have no idea, but Victoria has a question, and I can't read the whole thing.
Oh shit! I closed it because
I can only read like the first few words of chat on my phone. I need a new laptop so that I can run the camera and the
patron goal.
And the Facebook.
We have a patron goal. We need a new laptop. I'm sure that's the problem with the video too. But.
Dan has something too right after her, but I can't.
Oh my God! You can't see anything.
I can't. No, it just says. It just gives me the first part of it, and then it's ... And I try to click on the ... and it just gives me the reaction. I can laugh or cry at it or whatever, but I can't read it. It's stupid.
All right, well, give me some time. I have to be. Victoria says, speaking of communism, when did the Republican Better Dead Than Red Party become the pro-Russia platform? Amen.
When Russia bought them.
All of these idiots screaming about the evils of socialism need to remember that public schools, police, fire department, etc. are socialist programs. Exactly. Yeah. And that is the information campaign that would have to happen, right? I'll come back to that in a moment. Dan says, Sarah wants the public to be educated. We get further and further from that possibility every day as every day passes under this administration. Well, Dan, soon there'll be, all the kids will be in private schools learning about the Great Flood.
Right.
And then we don't have to worry.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yes, so the information campaign that would have to happen. I followed, I'm not sure if I still do, but I followed for a while. There's a Twitter account that is like the Socialist Party of America or something. I don't know. And like their mission in life is to just troll on Twitter when people are bitching about how bad socialism is and how socialism leads to or equals communism. Right. And so if you scroll through their feed, it's basically the same point over and over and over again, which is this. In communism, you have a ruling class that owns the means of production. In socialism, there is no ruling class. All the people own all of the things equally.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
you get to have your cake and eat it too.
We've never had that.
Right.
Right? That's conceptual socialism. That's never been done. So then the debate becomes, can it be done? Right? That's the... Oh, God. I love you, Dan. Okay, so, but that's what it becomes, right? Could we ever possibly have a society where there is no ruling class? Is the power, the greed for power and whatever, because you have to get rid of, it is a classless society.
Right.
There is no upper, middle, and lower class. We all have the equal. And so I don't know. I'm afraid that there are too many selfish people in the world.
Oh, I know there are too many selfish people
to ever allow that kind of utopian idea of socialism to happen.
Right.
And that's why I would describe myself as a democratic socialist, which is to say we still need the rulers. We still need a president, and democracy seems to work best.
Right.
You have your three branches of government and they all balance check each other when it works right. And then you have social welfare programs to help take care of the people who need to be taken care of. And that's where your welfare and your Social Security and your Medicaid and all of that stuff comes in. But also, to Dan's point, yes, who pays for the roads?
Mm-hmm.
We all do.
Yeah.
Do you, if you really wanted it to be like capitalism run amok, then when the fire department receives the call, they're going to type your address in and they're going to go, oh, they didn't pay their fire department bill this month.
Right.
We're not going.
Yeah.
That's not how this works.
Could you imagine?
Somebody busts into your apartment, gun to your head, and you're trying to call 911, and they go, oh, I'm sorry, what's the address? Oh, not going there. You didn't pay your bill. We take care of all of that through taxes. It's on the back end, and so you don't think about it.
Yeah.
But it works. And you may never need to call the fire department. Ever. You may never need to call the police in your entire life to deal with anything. And yet you still pay into it. Public schools, same way. If you never have kids, you still pay into the public school system through our taxes because we've all agreed that it's important that that be available to everyone. Okay, I'm sorry. You got me off track.
I
Damn
did
it.
no such
Dan,
thing.
Dan did. Okay. Let's finish up. We're still on Jim Carrey.
Still on
my
Jim
God.
Carrey.
They're trying to say,
trying to scare people.
scare people.
It's communism. It's
Venezuela, Trump says. We're going to be living in Venezuela.
I grew up in Canada, okay? We have socialized medicine. And I'm here to tell you that this bullshit line that you get on all of the political shows from people is that it's a failure. The system is a failure in Canada. It is not a failure in Canada. I never waited for anything in my life. I chose my own doctors. My mother never paid for a prescription. It was fantastic. And I just got back from Vancouver, and I keep hearing this, like, Canadians are so nice. Canadians are so nice. They can be nice because they have health care. Because they have a government that cares about them. It doesn't say sink or fucking swim, pal.
Right.
Or you live in a box.
Yeah.
There are certain people in our society that need to be taken care of. There are people without as many opportunities that need to be helped toward those opportunities. There are people who are sick.
But that's the...
You shouldn't have to lose your home because your mother got sick.
And look, I've always said the United States has been a quasi-socialist government for 100 years, for crying out loud. It's not
There's plenties of subsidies for oil companies.
Well,
and
but also
everybody else
Medicare and Social
needs a
Security,
handout,
and
right?
yes, of course. There's nothing more socialistic than some of the Pentagon programs that are just jobs programs. The Pentagon says we don't want these tanks, and they build them anyway. If that's not socialism, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great. That was great. So
I love that. That was...
I have been turned. Jim Carrey, the guy, big fan. Jim Carrey, the actor.
I don't know.
I'm drunk enough now that I can do the thing with his face.
No, you're not even close. Just
Okay.
Stop it. Just stop it. Have you seen all of his movies?
Annoying.
Or have you not seen things because Jim
We're not
Carrey's
going to talk
in it?
about it. I've seen plenty of his movies. We can talk about this later. Let's take this offline.
Did Sarah just say it's time for a break, or am I just dreaming?
It's coming. Real close. Yeah, real close. The hell's next? Oh,
you
this is
you
great.
don't know? You're running the show.
No, we're off the tracks.
Oh, yeah,
okay, listen, this is great. While you were watching the news cycle takeover of the Kavanaugh Supreme Court confirmation hearings, right? We all watched that.
Yes.
Right. You may have missed a very important committee meeting. We talked a bit about last week. We talked about Alex Jones being booted from Twitter forever and confronting Marco Rubio in the hallway like a high school bully. Just hours after the Jones-Rubio standoff, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey appeared in a hearing with the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Of course, the raging right wing is pissed off, claiming conservative viewpoints are being silenced by social media outlets, as if freedom of speech applies to anything except government censorship. And we talked about that last week a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook and Twitter have the right to take you off if you say that, Sandy Hook victims were crisis actors or whatever, right? Freedom of speech is guaranteed to you through the government. The government can't censor your speech.
Right.
Anybody else really can.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're using their platform.
Right? So during this meeting, far-right activist Laura Loomer began speaking up from the gallery, complaining about Twitter's CEO and disrupting the proceeding. The committee chair tried to call order, but when she wouldn't shut up, this is what happened next.
Chair now recognizes that.
Oh.
Order. You'll have order in the hearing room, or you'll be asked to leave. Ma'am, if you'll please take a seat, or we'll have to have you. Then you'll need to relieve.
Donald Trump, help us. Please help us, Mr. President, before it is too late.
So she's standing up in the back of the gallery with her phone on a little handheld.
It's a selfie stick.
Yeah.
It's just not telescoped out.
Oh, okay. But anyway.
Probably recording herself.
Right. Or recording the
Yeah,
proceeding.
Because Jack Dorsey is trying to influence the election, to sway the election.
What's she saying? I can't understand her. What?
Steal the election. That
What's she? How about a dan? 12 and a half, 15, 7 and a half, $20, 2 and a half, 5, 7 and a half, 30. Hit $30 down here, 2 and a half, 5, 35, 7 and a half, 40. Hit $40, 2 and a half, 5, 45, 7 and a half, 50. Hit $50 down here, 2 and a half,
Officer, will you escort this young lady out, please?
Hit 2 and a half, now 5, 65, 7 and a half, 70. Hit 2 and
Oh
a half,
my
now 5,
God.
7 and a half, $80 to 5, 85, 90.
So he's pretending to sell her phone at an auction. This is the voice of Missouri Republican representative and longtime member of the National Auctioneers Association and Missouri Professional Auctioneers Association, Billy Long.
Hit $100 on it, 10 and a quarter, 1 and a quarter, 1 half and about 2, 2 and a quarter. Hit 2 and a half and about 3, able to bomb 300. Hit 3 and a quarter. Cut 3 and a quarter now, half, 3 and a half, about 400. Yeah, but 4 and a quarter, 4 and a half. We're selling the cell phone there. 4 and a quarter, 4 and a half. Hit 4 and a half, 475, 5 and a quarter, 5 and a half. I yield back.
I yield back.
Everybody laughs. I love it. Oh my God.
Somehow I think our auctioneer in residence is going to get tweeted about today.
Oh, it was so funny.
I yield back.
God, I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I yield back. That was the best.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. Okay? We're going to take a break.
Dan, that's for you.
Yep. And while we're on break, I guess maybe I'll restart the feed if you want me to.
Yeah, we'll see.
See
we
if
can
I can
play with it.
Yeah, I didn't change anything, so I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know.
But patreon.com/SarahTalk. We need a new laptop to run our video feed from. And maybe, I mean, once we get to a certain level, we'll probably start paying for a higher bandwidth package. But what we have now should be fine.
It should be.
Anyway. Okay.
Okay.
So let's do this. We'll take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about. We're gonna do the President Obama thing, but I also have another bit of good news from some friends of the show. So we'll come back from the break and start with that.
Tease me like that.
That's what I do. Stick around. We'll be back. You're listening to Sarah Talk.
Hello, my friends. This is Sister Mary Atheist of the Church of Religious Avoidance down here in Bumblefuck, Alabama. Now, my friends, my people, my brothers and sisters, do you feel lost? Do you feel that swelling urge to be a part of something better? Well, let the word of SarahTalk help you. If you've never known the word SarahTalk, learn it, live it, love it. Can I get an amen? No? Good, 'cause we don't do that shit round here. My friends, we must all remember that the good word of SarahTalk doesn't happen for free. So get yourself over to patreon.com/SarahTalk and help us spread the word. Plant that seed and help it grow into secular, peer-reviewed empirical evidence for the good of all. In the name of the Sarah, the Becca, and the science-based podcast, amen, hallelujah, and holy shit.
This is Evan from Portage, Michigan. You are listening to Sarah Talk.
I love that kid.
I do too. Evan, we love you.
I'm still learning the camera controls, so
It's okay. At least I don't have to do it all anymore.
Yeah, right.
I appreciate that.
You said we're coming back. I put my headphones on and click camera, and then there's Evan, and I'm like, you bitch.
So that was not just for a random circumstance. I have good news from Evan.
Oh, I know this good
Now-
news because I'm friends with his mommy.
I want to tell you that I talked to his mommy and I tried to arrange for him to call us, and he's busy.
Oh, well,
Right?
excuse us.
Right? It's think it's his birthday week. Pretty sure.
Oh.
So
okay.
you can have your birthday.
You need to make some time for us, though.
But yeah, we do want to talk to you soon. Okay, so here's what's going on.
All right.
Evan went to court this week to legally change his name.
So exciting.
Morgan posted some pictures, which are just fantastic. Pictures of Evan with the judge and like a marquee board, like we used to have in here for the show title.
Right. Yeah.
With his new name on it. Evan, if you're listening, don't repeat any of the words I say on the show.
Yeah, don't do that. That'd
but
be not good.
but I gotta tell you how proud I am of you. It took me until my mid 30s to mid 30s to come to understand all of this and figure out what I needed to do, and I'm stunned by this kid. Evan, you're living your life honest and openly, and that is the key to happiness. That's what you and I love that you're figuring that out at such a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Latch on to that, man, because holy cow. And we love you. So please call. Call your aunts,
please.
Evan.
Oh my goodness. Those pictures were so adorable.
They
too.
were.
You could just tell he was just lit up like.
He is a cutie. He really is. Cute kid.
Okay.
The next good news from a friend of the show.
Oh, we have more good news.
I told you I had a couple things.
Oh.
Marissa.
Well, you said friends of the show, and I thought you meant Evan and
Oh,
his
no,
family.
No,
So-
there's more.
Oh my goodness.
But wait, there's more. Wow. Marissa Alexa McCool is the proud owner of a shiny new science vagina.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, probably not shiny. Probably like red and swollen and
pink and gooey. Maybe?
Sore.
Sore,
Probably
sore.
Very sore. That operation is intense. If you're interested, there are videos out there that show you how that's done.
I don't necessarily have a weak stomach, but I couldn't. No, I don't think I could watch that.
Anyway, I just checked in, and she's in recovery and doing well. So
Very cool.
we're so happy for you.
Very cool.
Marissa. That's great. One of these days, maybe I'll join you. I don't know. Can't. We'll see.
If we can get some socialized healthcare up in here.
Exactly.
In this bitch, we can get everybody all fixed up. Brand new bodies for everybody. My bionic knee is the first step.
Right. Okay. The next story. And we'll finish again, we'll finish with the Florida man at the end of this. But we'll the penultimate story to the show tonight is with a man that makes us all happy for tonight's good news episode. He's been somewhat silent of late, but he seems to be back at full strength. Ladies and gentlemen, the president, the real president, the last real president of the United States.
I miss him.
Barack Obama.
Hello, Illinois. ILL. 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 Okay. Just checking to see if you're awake. Please have a seat, everybody. It is good to be home. It's good to see corn. Beans. I was trying to explain to somebody as we were flying in. That's corn. That's beans. They were very impressed at my agricultural knowledge.
So this is Obama speaking at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign last Friday, which is not too far from where I grew up.
Well, that explains why he saw corn and beans
Yes,
on the plane.
Yeah. Well, had he really gone home to Chicago, no corn and beans in Chicago.
No, it's all...
So anyway, Obama gives a fiery speech here that made me long for the good old days, like a white man in Alabama longs for the front seat on a bus.
Dan says, "Don't say last real president. Say most recent real president, please."
Okay. Point
Be
taken.
a little optimistic.
Point taken. The speech was seen by many as what could be the first of a get out the vote tour by Obama, and he definitely speaks a lot about kind of engaging voters leading into the midterms.
Russell, I hope you're joking.
You can't just say that.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Am I not allowed to pause?
No.
Gosh, bitch. Russell says, "Good to be home." He's in Illinois, not Washington.
Oh, man.
Right?
Now I'm sad again.
I know, right?
Damn it. Okay. Happy times.
All
now,
right.
so he did speak on voter engagement, but he also weighed in on some of the things that we've all been worried about since he left office. So this is about an hour long. You're welcome to check out if you don't want to watch the left sides of our faces watching Obama over on the screen here.
But if you stay, I'll look over and wink every now and then.
So let's all just enjoy what it sounds like to hear words put together to form a complete sentence again.
Please give it up for Amari once again for that outstanding introduction. I have a bunch of good friends here today, including somebody who I served with, who is one of the finest senators in the country, and we're lucky to have him. Your senator, Dick Durbin, is here.
Now, when I worked in conservative radio, we affectionately referred to him as Tricky Dick Durbin.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, because we were conservatives. That's what we do.
I also noticed, by the way, former Governor Edgar here, who I haven't seen in a long time, and somehow he has not aged, and I have. It is great to see you, Governor. I want to thank President Colin and everybody at the U of I system for making it possible for me to be here today, and I am deeply honored at the Paul Douglas Award that is being given to me. He is somebody who set the path for so much outstanding public service here in Illinois. Now, I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room. I know people are still wondering why I didn't speak at the 2017 commencement. The student body president sent a very thoughtful invitation. Students made a spiffy video. And when I declined, I hear there was speculation that I was boycotting campus until Antonio's Pizza reopened. So I want to be clear. I did not take sides in that late-night food debate. The truth is, after 8 years in the White House, I needed to spend some time one-on-one with Michelle if I wanted to stay married.
Okay, can I just say, in addition to forming complete sentences, I miss the intelligence. I miss the cadence, even, of the way he speaks.
The charm and wit. And
yeah. And not fake news.
Yeah. And big leg.
Big leg.
And she says hello, by the way. I also wanted to spend some quality time with my daughters, who were suddenly young women on their way out the door. And I should add, by the way, now that I have a daughter in college, I can tell all the students here, your parents suffer. They cry privately. It is brutal. So please call. Send a text.
He's just so personable and
Jesse says the gentleness.
real.
The gentleness.
Yeah.
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 Like a soft, comfortable, like.
Right.
Like
yes.
you're talking
it's
to
like
an old friend.
It's like curling up in your favorite fuzzy blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to hear from you, just a little something. The truth was, I was also intent on following a wise American tradition of ex-presidents gracefully exiting the political stage and making room for new voices and new ideas. And we have our first president, George Washington, to thank for setting that example.
This is a really great history lesson that he's about to give here, which I think is important to follow. But there's also a but coming, right? What he's saying is, you know, I was gonna follow the example of all of these great presidents through history, and you know, just go tend to my garden and you know, try not to piss Michelle off and you know, badger my kids about not calling me. But that's coming.
After he led the colonies to victory as General Washington, there were no constraints on him, really. He was practically a god to those who had followed him into battle. There was no constitution. There were no democratic norms that guided what he should or could do. And he could have made himself all-powerful. He could have made himself potentially president for life. And instead, he resigned as commander-in-chief and moved back to his country as state.
And if I'm not mistaken, they went to Washington and said, like, hey, we kind of want you to be our king. Like, maybe not in those exact terms, but like, no, you should be our president. And he was like, no, that's what we left. Like, that was part of the problem. We do not need long-term rulers. It should be short-term. They come from the people. They serve the people. They go back to the people.
And 6 years later, he was elected president. But after 2 terms, he resigned again and rode off into the sunset. And the point Washington made, the point that is essential to American democracy, is that in a government of and by and for the people, there should be no permanent ruling class. There are only citizens who, through their elected and temporary representatives, determine our course and determine our character.
No ruling class, eh? No ruling class, you say?
I'm here today because this is one of those pivotal moments when every one of us, as citizens of the United States, need to determine just who it is that we are, just what it is that we stand for. And as a fellow citizen, not as an ex-president, but as a fellow citizen, I'm here to deliver a simple message, and that is that you need to vote because our democracy depends on it.
Right, so this is the start of the get out the vote kind of campaign tour, I think, that's coming.
Dan just said, I hope everyone realizes Obama can run again in 2020.
Some people have been saying, you know, what if Biden ran in the president slot with Obama as his VP?
I think I want it should be Biden and Michelle Obama.
She doesn't want it.
I know she doesn't want it. Or Kamala Harris, or who's that other? There's some other lady that I was like, oh man, yeah. Which one was it? It was one of the senators.
Elizabeth Warren?
Maybe it was Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah. I know those are kind of the names that have been floated.
But I know that, like, I know it won't be an Obama ticket.
No.
Because they need a break. Like, they've got, you know. But, Michelle, come on.
Right. So yeah, so he can't run again as president, but he could run again as the vice president, right? So, but God, here's my problem with that. With the current climate of the Republican Party, you have they are making this about the individuals, right? So again, we've talked before that conservative-minded people tend to be more authoritarian, right? And so when they attack us on the left, they do it from the mindset of authoritarianism, right? How many times in the past year have you heard, yeah, well, Hillary, from a Republican?
Well, yeah.
As a Democrat, let me say, Hillary lost the election. We don't fucking care about Hillary anymore.
Yeah.
We don't care. There's a new election. It's coming. We need to get ready for that. We're done with that. It's over.
Right. And Hillary's done with that.
Yes.
Like, and it's so weird to me because Hillary kind of just faded off into the dark gracefully, if you can say that. I don't even know. But she just went away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Which was the smart thing to do.
It really was.
It really was.
Because I'll tell you something. If she had won, how much? Any amount. I'll bet you any amount. How much you want to bet that we would still be hearing from Donald Trump complaining that he lost, like she stole the vote from it, you know?
Yep.
Because he can't let it go and he won. He can't let it go and he won.
Exactly. Exactly.
So-
But I also hear from them about Bernie. And Bernie lost too.
Right.
Like, why are we living in the past on this stuff?
Right.
Because that's where they live.
Well,
they live in the past on all the things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I just like that's why there's no progression. That's why there's no forward movement. That's why they can't get anything done.
And that's why I think the dynasty nonsense has to stop.
Yeah.
On all sides.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
We definitely do not need, and this is coming, kids, get ready for it, Representative Chelsea Clinton.
Right.
That's coming.
Oh yeah.
You know it is. We have this Bush dynasty that happened. We tried to have a Clinton dynasty. And that's both parties. I don't want that at all for anyone.
Right.
And especially right now, when you look at the way the Republicans attack the Democrats, it's we're undoing everything Obama did. Hillary and her emails or whatever, and the Bernie Bros.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're living in the past. And so I think if you have a ticket come up that has any of those names near it, or even phonetically close, you know what I mean? Clifton. Oh, fucking Clifton. You remember Hillary Clinton? That reminds me of Hillary Clinton. You remember her and her emails?
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think that's danger, Will Robinson, when it comes to when we put our party tickets together. I think it's time for new voices, and I think that's why people are looking at Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker.
Yeah.
As kind of a new face
Mm-hmm.
to the party. Anyway, I got off on a rant, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. It happens.
The chat is debating whether or not a former president can still serve as, or can run as a vice president. I'll let y'all argue that.
Now, some of you may think I'm exaggerating when I say this November's elections are more important than any I can remember in my lifetime. And I know politicians say that all the time. I have been guilty of saying it a few times, particularly when I was on the ballot. But just a glance at recent headlines should tell you that this moment really is different. The stakes really are higher. The consequences of any of us sitting on the sidelines are more dire.
Now, one of the things that happens during this speech that has gotten all of the attention is, again, he leads off with, look, I understand that we're supposed to kind of fade off into the darkness and let the newcomers have their say. And the but is, but have you read a paper lately?
Right.
Are you kidding me? And he then goes on to say some things about the Trump White House that seems unprecedented in a way for a former president. Again, I'm not speaking from a wealth of researched knowledge, but it just seems that way.
And it's not as if we haven't had big elections before or big choices to make in our history. The fact is, democracy has never been easy, and our founding fathers argued about everything.
Our founding fathers argued about everything the way our friends in the chat are arguing about whether or not you can run after serving for president. I love you guys so much. This is great. It's great to watch.
We waged a civil war. We overcame depression. We've lurched from eras of great progressive change to periods of retrenchment. Still, most Americans alive today, certainly the students who are here, have operated under some common assumptions about who we are and what we stand for. Out of the turmoil of the Industrial Revolution and the Great Depression, America adapted a new economy, a 20th century economy, guiding our free market with regulations to protect health and safety and fair competition, empowering workers with union movements, investing in science and infrastructure and educational institutions like U of I, strengthening our system of primary and secondary education, and stitching together a social safety net. And all of this led to unrivaled prosperity and the rise of a broad and deep middle class.
Which is
in the
lost
sense that
now.
If you worked hard, you could climb the ladder of success.
The middle class is becoming less and less and less all the time.
And due to budget cuts, the ladder of success has been downgraded to a rope.
Right. Right.
Now, not everyone was included in this prosperity. There was a lot more work to do. And so, in response to the stain of slavery and segregation and the reality of racial discrimination, the civil rights movement not only opened new doors for African Americans, but also opened up the floodgates of opportunity for women and Americans with disabilities and LGBT Americans, others to make their own claims to full and equal citizenship. And although discrimination remained a pernicious force in our society and continues to this day, and although there are controversies about how to best ensure genuine equality of opportunity, there's been at least rough agreement among the overwhelming majority of Americans that our country is strongest when everybody's treated fairly.
God, you see, this is why I wanted to do this. He's making me feel better. He really is. When normally I come in here and all I have on my mind is the evangelicals are fucking us over and they're trying to take our rights away and they don't want the gays to get married and they don't want the trans people to use the bathrooms and all of this nonsense. And they don't want the baker to have to make the cake.
Right.
They don't want the preacher to have to give a gay ceremony. And then I hear Obama talk about all of these times in the past, which were not easy, which were hard for marginalized groups to move the ball of progress forward. I miss this. I really do. I didn't realize it at the time, but I miss this.
When people are judged on the merits and the content of their character, and not the color of their skin, or the way in which they worship God, or their last names. And that consensus then extended beyond our borders. And from the wreckage of World War II, we built a post-war web architecture, system of alliances and institutions to underwrite freedom and oppose Soviet totalitarianism and to help poorer countries develop.
And that's why I shared an old article to the group. Because
So
I was watching this.
It wasn't an oversight.
No, it was not.
You love it how people call you out, though.
Yeah, that's okay. Call me out, because sometimes I genuinely do. That was a heavy pour.
It really was. I enjoy it when people call you out, though, because it makes you know that they are paying attention.
Yeah. Oh no.
And that they got your back. If you know what I mean. Like,
yeah. And it's
absolutely.
and I know that it's never like malicious.
Oh,
it's always just
absolutely.
like, hey, girl, you fucked up something here. You know, like, oh, that's like when I post a story and it may not be a legitimate story.
Right.
Call me out on that.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I'm gonna go on your timeline and call your ass out on shit too.
We should make. You know what we should make? We should make memes with the SarahTalk logo and say like. That says old news or fake news. Oh my gosh. Or fake news or like just, and then we can just post them or a GIF maybe.
Yeah. Oh, anytime there's fake news, I always use the Trump GIF.
I feel like we need a SarahTalk like branded GIF that's like, that way we can
get right on it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Right, whatever. But you know, fake news, old news, and what was the other one? There's another one I was gonna say.
Oh, I love you, Jesse. That was an old school family lunch pour.
It really was.
Yes, it was. That was a let's go to lunch before work pour.
I thought we were okay. I guess
I'm only missing the lime, really. That's the only thing that's missing is the lime. What do you got over there? You just have Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
Calling us out when we post shit.
Oh,
that isn't
yeah,
correct.
no. So I posted So I posted what was it? We were withdrawing from some. I don't even remember now. NATO?
No, it wasn't
No.
NATO. It was it was one of those agreements.
Right, but we've walked away from everything. All of the partnerships that we had formed. A lot of them, some of them in the wake of world wars. Where alliances were forged, we have just said, you know what? Fuck you.
Yep.
And what the hell are we thinking? Of all the countries.
Old news, fake news, or real news.
There you go. Of all the countries that walked away from the Paris Climate Accord, we're the one.
Right.
We're the one that walked away from that.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
You just lit my coaster up, Dan.
Take a drink,
I know
Dan.
you can't see it, but
we were the world leader on things. People followed us. And I don't. And again, I've said this before. I'm globalist to a point, but so I don't necessarily agree with that either. But like, good things came from those alliances, and to just turn and walk away from them all.
And American leadership across the globe wasn't perfect.
Russell.
We made mistakes.
Hold on, time out. Russell just had it. Russell got it right.
Russell got it. I was looking at it. I was looking for it.
Russell, I'm proud of you. I have to say.
He's at work.
And
he's still on it.
Yeah, and you have become involved in the political sphere through all of this since we've met. And I think that's great. I love that. But anyway,
much to mother's disdain.
Russell says UN Human Rights Council. Yeah, it was Human Rights.
The United something Human Rights. Just had it,
And I have half a mind to go on a 30-minute rant about what the Human Rights Council is all about, but I'll spare you from that because we've got still got a shit ton of time left in this video. But like, there are atrocities happening all across the world. You know, female genital mutilation is still a problem across Africa and other developing nations, and just all of these things that are, if you consider yourself a humanist, that you have to care about.
Yeah.
People are being harmed, and it's again, it's alliances, it's groups like that work to make the places better for all people. And again, for us to just be like, meh, we'll do our own thing.
At times, we lost sight of our ideals. We had fierce arguments about Vietnam, and we had fierce arguments about Iraq. But thanks to our leadership, a bipartisan leadership, and the efforts of diplomats and Peace Corps volunteers, and most of all, thanks to the constant sacrifices of our men and women in uniform, we not only reduced the prospects of war between the world's great powers, we not only won the Cold War, we helped spread a commitment to certain values and principles, like the rule of law and human rights and democracy.
I want to pause it for a moment to mention, so he talked about Vietnam and Iraq and how charged the country was over that decision. So Vietnam was obviously not in my radar, but 9/11 is like, we just had an anniversary of 9/11, which this country ejaculates to.
Right.
And I think is kind of disgusting. But in the wake of 9/11, decisions were made that I think we all disagree about. I think there is disagreement about whether we made the right decision. Were there really weapons of mass destruction? Did we invade the right country? All of those things. Now, I want you to consider. This is it's a joke. Get the punchline ready. I want you to consider what was going on during that time. I want you to think back. Post 9/11, nationalism swelling. We're all, yay America, and let's go get the bad guys, right? And as bad as George W. Bush was, as awful as that guy, he's a fucking idiot. I want you to try to superimpose Trump into that situation and imagine how that would play out. Just imagine how different that would have been. He makes W look good.
Let me tell you something, because, okay. Oh my God. You probably didn't, because you haven't been watching the news the way I have lately.
No, I haven't.
So all the 9/11 anniversary stuff is going on. They actually found audio clips of Donald Trump right after the towers went down.
No shit.
And there is audio of him basically bragging that now his tower was the tallest tower in New York.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's bad.
Okay, I have to look that up. Write that down. I'll look it up.
And the notion of the inherent dignity and worth of every individual. And even those countries that didn't abide by those principles were still subject to shame and still had to at least give lip service to the idea. And that provided a lever to continually improve the prospects for people around the world. That's the story of America.
That's the thing that we're losing sight of in all of this. In all of this nonsense about immigration. and civil rights. For a party who loves the past so damn much, it can't wait to get back there and tell that black person to get away from their drinking fountain. For the party that loves the past so much. It's the journey that got us here that gets lost in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
A story of progress. Fitful progress, incomplete progress, but progress. And that progress wasn't achieved by just a handful of famous leaders making speeches. It was won because of countless quiet acts of heroism and dedication by citizens, by ordinary people, many of them not much older than you. It was won because rather than be bystanders to history, ordinary people fought and marched and mobilized and built and, yes, voted to make history. Of course, there's always been another, darker aspect to America's story. Progress doesn't just move in a straight line. There's a reason why progress hasn't been easy, and why throughout our history, every 2 steps forward seems to sometimes produce 1 step back.
And I think that's one of those things I think about when I think about the gains of the LGBTQ community, right? We're on this train headed forward, and we're making progress. But there's always an element of our society that kind of pulls us back and says, whoa, a little too fast there. Let's slow it down.
Right.
Right? And so I think part of the hatred of the Obama administration and their legacy is that, while they weren't directly responsible for the gay marriage ruling, they did hand down a lot of advice to. So I'm thinking of like the school district, the letter to the school district
Right.
from the departments of justice and
Right.
education about how to treat trans kids.
They were trying to give guidance.
That was way too fast.
Yeah.
As much as again, right? What he's saying is like, I get it, you want it,
Right.
And we obviously want to race headlong
need
into the
it,
future. We
but
need it,
It's got to be.
but there's balance
Yeah.
to the force,
You-
and it takes time.
I think it was just they were trying to do too much too fast and unsolicited.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Each time we painstakingly pull ourselves closer to our founding ideals, that all of us are created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The ideals that say every child should have opportunity, and every man and woman in this country who's willing to work hard should be able to find a job and support a family and pursue their small piece of the American dream. Our ideals that say we have a collective responsibility to care for the sick and the infirm. And we have a responsibility to conserve the amazing bounty, the natural resources of this country and of this planet for future generations. Each time we've gotten closer to those ideals, somebody somewhere has pushed back. The status quo pushes back. Sometimes the backlash comes from people who are genuinely, if wrongly, fearful of change.
That's the thing we talk about on the show all the time. The give and take, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 2 steps forward, 2 steps. Did you see Paula Abdul
No.
performing on the one of the late shows? It was great.
Oh, no, I didn't see that. I didn't even know she was making the rounds.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Was it?
She's like got to be old now.
Yeah. Straight Up Now Tell Me. I think that was the song she did. Straight Up Now Tell Me.
What are you doing?
I don't know. Anyway, where was I going with that?
I have no idea, but that was that was.
I don't know. I love Paula Abdul.
Oh, okay.
That was my jam in my youth.
Settle down.
Shut up. So the give and take is there are those of us on the left that are racing forward into the future, trying to drag everyone else along with us, and then the conservative group that pulls us back.
Right.
That's what I was. And we talk about that often. As much as I hate them, I think it's necessary.
Well,
like,
it
I
is.
think
That's part of the fabric of society. It's almost like you need to have brakes in your car so you don't drive
Right.
off of a cliff. You know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's a testing ground. It's like
Yep.
So you need that give and take. You need that the fabric needs to stretch and give and take in different places. And if it doesn't, then it's just going to tear down the middle.
Right.
Like
it
that's
is
what's happening right now.
Right now.
More often, it's manufactured by the powerful and the privileged who want to keep us divided and keep us angry and keep us cynical because that helps them maintain the status quo and keep their power and keep their privilege.
Which echoes, I think, something that was it Victoria said in the chat. I scrolled past it.
I don't know, but Russell said that was an odd squirrel.
Listen.
She's had like a half a bottle of rum. You saw the pors.
When I sober up tomorrow and listen back to the show,
She's gonna be like, what
I'll
the
just edit all this out. No, I will think to myself, this is what will actually happen. I will think to myself, oh shit, no, that was what I was trying to say about Paula Abdul, and then I lost it because I just
that is a song, but that's not the song that you were thinking about. And I can't
Victoria
remember.
says, of course, people want to stop progress. Progress means power being taken from the few and giving to the masses. Yes, which is exactly what Obama is saying at this point.
Can we just, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there is a whole side conversation going on in the chat. I love our people here.
About Russell's getting
well,
pounded? Or
no,
you're getting pounded?
Victoria says we need to get the group together and make our own podcast where we're listening to and commenting on SarahTalk.
That's fun.
But yeah, anyway, I just, shout out to you guys. I love you people.
And you happen to be coming of age during one of those moments. It did not start with Donald Trump. He is
This is a really important point here.
a symptom, not the cause.
Mm-hmm.
He's just capitalizing on resentments that politicians have been fanning for years. A fear and anger that's rooted in our past, but it's also born out of the enormous upheavals that have taken place in your brief lifetimes. And by the way, it is brief. When I heard Maher was 11 when I got elected. And now he's like started a company. That was yesterday. But think about it. Yeah, you've come of age in a smaller, more connected world where demographic shifts and the winds of change have scrambled not only traditional economic arrangements, but our social arrangements and our religious commitments and our civic institutions. Most of you don't remember a time before 9/11 when you didn't have to take off your shoes at an airport. Most of you don't remember a time when America wasn't at war, or when money and images and information could travel instantly around the globe, or when the climate wasn't changing faster than our efforts to address it. And this change has happened fast, faster than any time in human history. And it created a new economy that has unleashed incredible prosperity. But it's also upended people's lives in profound ways. For those with unique skills or access to technology and capital, a global market has meant unprecedented wealth. For those not so lucky, for the factory worker, or the office worker, or even middle managers, those same forces may have wiped out your job, or at least put you in no position to ask for a raise. And as wages slowed and inequality accelerated, those at the top of the economic pyramid have been able to influence government to skew things even more in their direction. Cutting taxes on the wealthiest Americans, unwinding regulations and weakening worker protections.
Starting to sound a lot like Bernie Sanders there.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know.
Shrinking the safety net. So you have come of age during a time of growing inequality, a fracturing of economic opportunity. And that growing economic divide compounded other divisions in our country: regional, racial, religious, cultural. It made it harder to build consensus on issues. It made politicians less willing to compromise, which increased gridlock, which made people even more cynical about politics. And then the reckless behavior of financial elites triggered a massive financial crisis 10 years ago this week. A crisis that resulted in the worst recession in any of our lifetimes and caused years of hardship for the American people.
Now, we kind of benefited from that. That was the housing bubble pop
Yeah.
in 2008, and we bought our house 2010?
2011.
The first house, yeah. And so, like, all of the houses were foreclosed, short sale,
yeah.
super fucking cheap.
I think we got, we got the first house for half of what it was priced at.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a...
Then we turned around and were
it
able
was
to...
a 3-2
Yeah.
in a nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
3-2, $85,000?
Yeah.
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 So we came along at the right time. We just happened to be moving out of apartment living into a home with a baby and really just got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But for the people before us
that bought that house brand new, put money down, and then the economy
And
just
then
crashed
lost
on them
it
and they
all.
lost everything.
Yep.
And they were really nice people. Like,
Yeah.
that was an awkward.
But that also reminds me, like, again, and this is why I think I keep this top of mind, as depressing as it can be. Like, so many people like us literally are living one catastrophe
Sure.
away from homelessness.
Right. Well, and when we bought that house, the house behind it was for sale.
Yeah, we had
There
an
were-
offer on it
we
and
had-
the house we got.
And there was multiple houses. You drive through that neighborhood, and it seemed like every single house almost
Mhm.
had a neighbor either across from it or next to it that was for sale.
Oh, there's so
Like,
many houses in that neighborhood that were for sale. Yep.
And I just remember thinking, oh, wow, well, if we don't get this one, we'll go put an offer on that one. That's
Yeah,
what we did
there
for a
was-
while because, when you have that tight budget to work with,
What
but
did
there
we
was
have,
so
3 or
many
4 offers in?
options.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
something like that.
We did. We had quite a at least a handful.
Dan says in 2008, my house lost 70% of its value. It came back ever so slowly.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And then I mean, I feel like we really did come along at the right time and got so lucky because that house that we bought, the first house that we bought for 85,
right?
By the time we went to move out and needed more space,
we made a profit on that.
We made a dilly of a profit on that.
Yeah.
And so we were looking, and this is crazy too. Realtors,
People, yeah.
Hello. When we were looking for houses, so we wanted a 3 or a 4 bedroom.
Well, we wanted
2 baths, but we really wanted
Yeah.
4 because I needed the studio.
Right.
That was the big deal. And houses that were 10, 15 years old were pricing at the same thing as the house that we bought, which we built.
Brand new.
Which is fucking absurd considering the old... If you buy into a 15-year-old home, you're looking at air conditioning issues coming soon.
Roofs in a hurricane zone.
Like, why would you buy a pre-owned home if
And
you
we
could
had,
buy new?
And on the old house, we had just had to have the stucco redone because
Yeah,
you live in
yeah,
Florida where
right.
everything's built on the sand.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into owning a home. And if you're going to buy an older home, you almost need to buy it at a, what's the fixer-upper.
Fixer-upper, yeah.
You need to buy it at a fixer-upper rate if you're
Right.
wanting to,
but at the end
not
of
have to spend an arm and a leg because
Yeah.
we would have bought a house that was 10 years old for the
Yeah.
same amount of
And we
money
would've
that
had
we
to do a
bought
ton of
this
work
one.
to it.
And
Yep.
then we would have to turn around and take out an equity loan
Yeah.
or another
True.
loan to do the work.
Yeah. But I keep thinking like all of those stars were it was
Right.
God.
No, it
terrific.
was not.
All of those stars
Shut
were
up.
lined up for us. Like we were at the right place at the right time. We really were. And had we been 5 years earlier, 10 years earlier,
We would have been
in
a lot of trouble.
Fucked.
Right. Well, like we're going to be if somebody doesn't
Right.
fix this.
For many of your parents, for many of your families. Most of you weren't old enough to fully focus on what was going on at the time. But when I came into office in 2009, we were losing 800,000 jobs a month. 800,000. Millions of people were losing their homes. Many were worried we were entering into a second Great Depression. So we worked hard to end that crisis, but also to break some of these longer-term trends. And the actions we took during that crisis returned the economy to healthy growth and initiated the longest streak of job creation on record. And we covered another 20 million Americans with health insurance, and we cut our deficits by more than half, partly by making sure that people like me, who've been given such amazing opportunities by this country, pay our fair share of taxes to help folks coming up behind them.
Amazing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many times have we said, and we don't have, we are not in the privileged upper echelon of
Right.
of income. But take it if it will help a person who needs it. If it means that no child goes to sleep tonight in a cold place that's not
right,
and they have food to eat,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that stuff, take my money. If I tripled my income tomorrow, I'd pay off all of our debts, and I would make a plan to give money to people who need it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do. And I would expect my government, I would expect them to ask more of me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this was a conversation that Josh and I had at work
Mhm.
that, where his argument was, well, the wealthy elite, they worked hard for that money. It's their money. Don't you think they should have a right to do whatever they want with their money? If they want to squander it away and not then that's their right.
I hate that argument.
And, like, yeah, okay, fine, but they're not... Listen to me. They did not work as hard as you're making it out to be.
And they certainly...
The people who work for them...
Yeah.
Who are on welfare and food stamps and they're the ones who worked hard for his money.
The single parents working 2 jobs, leaving their babies with their parents or aunts or uncles or daycare or whoever, and having somebody else raise their children so they can make enough money to provide for their children. Like, you should not have to work that much. You should be able to have a healthy work-life balance and still be able to provide for your family.
Right. Dan, you're right. It is time for break number 2. I don't want to interrupt. Here's the problem. Obama's speeches are so well written.
Oh my God.
I can't find a place to stop, but I'm going to pee.
You keep finding a space to interrupt, so I don't know that that's really a good argument, Sarah.
Shut up. But if I don't go pee soon, I'm going to burst.
All
so
right.
let's take another break. I did not intend this to be a 3-hour show.
Yeah, sure you didn't.
But it's looking that way. Yeah, and Dan says I'm going to edit it down to 3 hours. So I promise when we come back, I'll try not to interrupt as much. Sorry.
I don't believe her.
All right, we'll be right back. You're listening to Sarah Talk.
Are you ready for your first card? As I look at the set I placed down for you, I see an interesting things rising. Some of it has to deal with love and money and changes, and hopefully they're going to be for the better. Now your first card represents your situation, maybe some problems you've been having, maybe a little bit about yourself. Your first card is sorrow. This card is letting us know that there is some type of disruption in your life. Not that it's a big deal, but this card is giving off a strange vibe of anxiety. Actually, this card is warming my hand. Oh, now caller, if you listen here, I'm seeing in the cards. Oh, yes, the 45 of mangoes. The 45 of mangoes card says you're going to go on to Patreon and subscribe because there is nothing better than giving when receiving. What will you ask me? Find out now and I see for you. Call me now for a free tarot reading.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
41, 31, 13.
We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted. Realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, this is Dan Hogan from Mesa, Arizona, and thanks for listening to SarahTalk Podcast. You know, you're privileged to listen to the show. Not everyone gets to listen. I mean, the dead are not allowed to listen. They don't know what they're missing. Do you know why? Because they're dead. But if you're alive and listening, thanks, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Welcome back to Sarah Talk. I almost had time to go pee during that break. I should have dropped another ad in there.
Oh my gosh. I think
PSA.
I think we're doing...
What happened? I got owned?
Victoria says, Becca. Oh snap. Sarah just got owned by a logical argument. Way to set an example.
Okay.
Do you not remember what just happened before the break?
No.
Okay.
How did I get owned? That's what I don't understand. How did I get owned?
I said something really smart, but I don't remember.
And you were trying to make it look like I was just drunk and couldn't remember.
No, we're just old.
You don't remember
we're
either.
We're just old and we don't remember. Victoria, please, For the love of Jesus Christ, will you please explain what I did so that I don't have to go back and listen to the show?
Okay, listen. Let's try to get through Obama here. And I promise.
Episode title. You keep
I saw
finding
that.
time to interrupt. That's probably what I was pointing out.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. I will try not to interrupt as much. I promise.
And by the time I left office, household income was near its all-time high, and the uninsured rate had hit an all-time low, and wages were rising, and poverty rates were falling. I mention all this just so when you hear how great the economy is doing right now, let's just remember when this recovery started.
I love him.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm going to interrupt.
I mean, I'm glad it's continued, but when you hear about this economic miracle that's been going on, when the job numbers come out, monthly job numbers, and suddenly Republicans are saying it's a miracle, I have to kind of remind them, actually, those job numbers are the same as they were in 2015, in 2016, and anyway, I digress. So we made progress, but, and this is the truth, my administration couldn't reverse 40-year trends in only 8 years.
You know, this is an important point, too, and I think we give way too much credence to a president. Like, I think the president gets a lot of, I think we put a lot on them that's not necessarily on them, right? Economic trends and jobs and all of that stuff. That it's not like you make a decree on Monday and by Friday the numbers start drastically changing. You know what I mean?
There's no instant gratification in government.
It takes time for that stuff to get in and work. And so, you know, when President B comes into office and says, "Oh, look at all of this great things that are happening," that could have started under President A.
You mean President Orange?
I'm not mentioning any names.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that those things take time to really get in and work.
So Dan says, I love Obama, but I love the interruptions just as much.
Oh, good.
And Victoria
Thanks, Dan.
said, see, interrupting again. And
Listen.
Russell says, interrupt much? Listen.
Especially once Republicans took over the House of Representatives in 2010 and decided to block everything we did. Even things they used to support. So we pulled the economy out of crisis, but to this day, too many people who once felt solidly middle class still feel very real and very personal economic insecurity. Even though we took out bin Laden and wound down the wars in Iraq and our combat role in Afghanistan and got Iran to halt its nuclear program, the world's still full of threats and disorder that come streaming through people's televisions every single day. And these challenges get people worried, and it frays our civic trust. And it makes a lot of people feel like the fix is in and the game is rigged and nobody's looking out for them, especially those communities outside our big urban centers. And even though your generation is the most diverse in history, with a greater acceptance and celebration of our differences than ever before, those are the kinds of conditions that are ripe for exploitation by politicians who have no compunction and no shame about tapping into America's dark history of racial and ethnic and religious division. Appealing to tribe appealing to fear, pitting one group against another, telling people that order and security will be restored if it weren't for those who don't look like us or don't sound like us or don't pray like we do. That's an old playbook. It's as old as time.
This is like Pastor Obama. Like, preach it, brother. Yes. Doesn't this sound exactly like what's going on? It's from the Republican Party.
And in a healthy democracy, it doesn't work. Our antibodies kick in. And people of goodwill from across the political spectrum call out the bigots and the fear mongers and work to compromise and get things done and promote the better angels of our nature. But when there's a vacuum in our democracy, when we don't vote, when we take our basic rights and freedoms for granted, when we turn away and stop paying attention, and stop engaging, and stop believing, and look for the newest diversion, the electronic versions of bread and circuses, then other voices fill the void. A politics of fear and resentment and retrenchment takes hold, and demagogues promise simple fixes to complex problems. No promise to fight for the little guy, even as they cater to the wealthiest and most powerful. No promise to clean up corruption and then plunder away. They start undermining norms that ensure accountability and try to change the rules to entrench their power further. And they appeal to racial nationalism that's barely veiled, if veiled at all.
Wow, what a what a summary of right now.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. Right?
He's been on vacation, so
Yeah,
he's
I
had
guess.
plenty of time to watch and ponder and draw comparisons and
Mm-hmm.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
was not a necessary pause or interruption.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
That was a rhetorical question.
Oh,
He didn't
sorry.
want you to.
I was
Jesus Christ.
Now understand, this is not just a matter of Democrats versus Republicans or liberals versus conservatives. At various times in our history, this kind of politics has infected both parties. Southern Democrats were the bigger defenders of slavery. It took a Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, to end it. Dixiecrats filibustered anti-lynching legislation, opposed the idea of expanding civil rights. And although it was a Democratic president and a majority Democrat Congress, spurred on by young marchers and protesters, that got the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act over the finish line, those historic laws also got passed because of the leadership of Republicans like Illinois' own Everett Dirksen.
I feel a little bit like we should mention that, like, don't forget the party, the platforms kind of flipped over time. Yes, Southern Democrats were in favor of slavery.
Right.
Right? But the former party of the Southern Democrats is the current party of the Republicans.
Right.
Those platforms in
Well,
general, like broadly,
And I think
switched.
I think we're seeing how that happens. And I mean, the Republican Party as it stands today is not the Republican Party of, the Bushes or
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, and likewise, the Democrat side of that, there's always an evolving thing there. They're always ever changing because society is ever changing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's something to be said about that. Especially when you look at you've got Bernie Sanders, who's a democratic socialist. Is that what he's saying? But if there were to is that what he is kind of grabbed onto because you can't have a socialist party in America because of that word is such a dirty word? You have the independents, and the independents never have a fighting chance in a major election.
Sure.
So it's like you have to grasp to one side or the other. And I don't know, maybe this blue wave is going to wash further down the line, probably not this election or the next, but years down the line. Maybe that's just going to change the whole surface of what our parties look like.
The political, the landscape. Yeah, you're right. I think, and what drives me crazy, I think, about the Republicans today is that we do not have strict term limits in Congress for the most part. And so you look at some of these guys who've been there for a long, long time.
Right.
At what point do you stand up and say, hey, this is not the Republican Party that I grew up on, that I ran my campaign on? The Donald Trump Republican Party is not my Republican Party.
Right.
At what point do they take it back?
And there are rumblings. You're starting to see it among the younger crowd, where they're like, "Wait a minute, no, this is off. This isn't
right."
But
at the same time, you don't.
But has it come too far? Has the damage already been done? Is it to the point where it's not redeemable? Like you can't take it back. So I don't know. It has to change. There's going to be permanent damage there.
Yeah.
That they're going to have to find a way to.
And similarly, there's a split in the Democratic Party. We've talked about many times with we're leaning a little bit further left into that socialist Bernie kind of, mentality, where Hillary is a little more centrist, in comparison, at least.
I look at, all this stuff with this Kavanaugh judge crap. I think that's another thing that needs to be reevaluated. Why are we giving a lifetime appointment to somebody on the Supreme Court? Why do we do that?
The Supreme Court should have term limits. You're right.
Like, I just don't understand that.
I have recently become a proponent of that.
Right.
Well, but here's fucking sidebar. Sorry, guys. I swear to God, this show won't be 4 hours long. Okay, no, I don't. And even if I did, I don't believe in God, so it doesn't matter. There is nothing from stopping the next Democratic president from saying, you know what? Let's make the Supreme Court 13 people. And here are my nominees.
Right.
There's really nothing that
nothing says you can't stop it.
But where's the end of that? Like, how far do we let that go before we're like, okay, listen, just stop it. This isn't
like,
because then the next time the Republicans get in power, then they make their change, and then we get in power and we change some more.
Well, I think there needs to be a lot of it needs to just
be lifetime appointment is the problem.
I think you start there. You start with the term limits, and then some of that stuff should be a nonpartisan issue. If a Democrat wants to come in and change it, I feel like you need everybody's approval to make something. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to vote, and everybody has a say. And even the president shouldn't be able to come in and sign a big paper and say trans people can't.
Right.
All of the and I know he's signed a lot of things and said he passed a lot of things, and
he said he undid the Johnson Amendment, which isn't true.
Right. Okay. So, but why does he think he has that power?
He thinks he's king.
Well, then they should give him
I
a
think
crown and
that's
put
the-
him. They should give him a crown, put him in Abraham's bedroom, Lincoln's bedroom. Abraham.
My God.
They give him a crown, put him in Lincoln's bedroom, lock the door, and let somebody else come in and do the job.
Yeah.
Sounds like that's pretty close to happening.
There's just so much going on there too. Like, and we talked about this when it was happening. Does he really want this? Like, how much of this is just ego? How much of this is like, I never thought I was going to win, so now I have to fake it till I make it?
Like he's been
there's
quoted.
so many things.
He's been quoted as saying, "This is the hardest job I've ever had to do. That this isn't what I thought it was going to be." There's so many things that he has said that would lead me to believe that he is just miserable. And then on top of it, everyone in his circle has basically turned on him. And if they haven't turned on him to his face,
right.
Their hashtag, it was hashtag TFA. That's the 25th Amendment talk. Marissa was on doing the circuit, and she said they had a hashtag.
Oh, I missed
that. They would put on the end of texts or messages, or every time he came out with some harebrained thing, they would just hashtag TFA it and keep moving.
But why don't they do it?
Right? I'm like,
he is clearly unfit for office. Okay, we're never going to get through this unless we get back to it.
So neither party has had a monopoly on wisdom. Neither party has been exclusively responsible for us going backwards instead of forwards. But I have to say this, because sometimes we hear, a plague on both your houses. Over the past few decades, wasn't true when Jim Edgar was a governor here in Illinois, or Jim Thompson was governor. Got a lot of good Republican friends here in Illinois. But over the past few decades, the politics of division and resentment and paranoia has unfortunately found a home in the Republican Party. This Congress has championed the unwinding of campaign finance laws to give billionaires outside influence over our politics, systematically attacked voting rights to make it harder for young people and minorities and the poor to vote, handed out tax cuts without regard to deficits, slashed the safety net wherever it could, cast dozens of votes to take away health insurance from ordinary Americans, embraced wild conspiracy theories like those surrounding Benghazi or my birth certificate, rejected science, rejected facts on things like climate change, embraced a rising absolutism from a willingness to default on America's debt by not paying our bills, to a refusal to even meet, much less consider, a qualified nominee for the Supreme Court because he happened to be nominated by a Democratic president. None of this is conservative. I don't mean to pretend I'm channeling Abraham Lincoln now, but that's not what he had in mind, I think, when he helped form the Republican Party. It's not conservative. It sure isn't normal. It's radical. It's a vision that says the protection of our power and those who back us is all that matters, even when it hurts the country. It's a vision that says the few who can afford high-priced lobbyists and unlimited campaign contributions set the agenda. And over the past 2 years, this vision is now nearing its logical conclusion. So that with Republicans in control of Congress and the White House, without any checks or balances whatsoever, they've provided another $1.5 trillion in tax cuts to people like me who I promise don't need it.
Yes.
And don't even pretend to pay for them. It's supposed to be the party supposedly of fiscal conservatism. Suddenly, deficits do not matter. Even though just 2 years ago, when the deficit was lower, they said, I couldn't afford to help working families or seniors on Medicare because the deficit was an existential crisis. What changed?
Now, this video should have been titled, What Changed?
Yeah.
What changed? They're subsidizing corporate polluters with taxpayer dollars, allowing dishonest lenders to take advantage of veterans and students and consumers again. They've made it so that the only nation on earth to pull out of the global climate agreement.
He can't even say it without laughing.
It's not North Korea, it's not Syria, it's not Russia or Saudi Arabia. It's us, the only country. There are a lot of countries in the world. We're the only ones. They're undermining our alliances, cozying up to Russia. What happened to the Republican Party? Its central organizing principle in foreign policy was the fight against communism, and now they're cozying up to the former head of the KGB.
Right?
Actively blocking legislation that would defend our elections from Russian attack. What happened? Their sabotage of the Affordable Care Act has already cost more than 3 million Americans their health insurance. And if they're still in power next fall, you better believe they're coming at it again. They've said so. In a healthy democracy, there's some checks and balances on this kind of behavior, this kind of inconsistency. But right now, there's nothing. Republicans who know better in Congress, and they're there, they're quoted saying, yeah, we know this is kind of crazy, are still bending over backwards to shield this behavior from scrutiny or accountability or consequence. Seem utterly unwilling to find the backbone to safeguard the institutions that make our democracy work. And by the way, the claim that everything will turn out okay because there are people inside the White House who secretly aren't following the president's orders, that is not a check. I'm being serious here. That's not how our democracy is supposed to work. These people aren't elected. They're not accountable. They're not doing us a service by actively promoting 90% of the crazy stuff that's coming out of this White House and then saying, don't worry, we're preventing the other 10%.
We talked about the New York Times op-ed. We still don't know the author of, but sure looks like Pence in a lot of ways.
I don't know that I
You
buy
don't think
that.
so?
No, I
You
don't-
think someone used his word, lodestar,
That's
to make
not-
it look like him?
listen.
Nobody uses that word.
I heard it like 4 times from various people on
Okay.
and what I'm going to say now about that, and this is why I don't think it was necessarily him, is that when you are around somebody a lot, you pick up their mannerisms, you pick up their words, you tend to,
Yeah.
So it was either something like that, or it was somebody who works close with him, or was somebody trying to make it look like him.
Right.
I don't necessarily think it was him. I don't know. His denial was kind of awkward and weird.
Yeah.
About it, and then there was somebody who like point blank asked him if those conversations about the 25th Amendment, if he had had any of them. That was even weirder. He was like, "No, and why would we?" Like, so I don't necessarily believe that he doesn't know all of this is going on, but I don't know that he would have authored an op-ed like that.
I don't know. I think he has his eye on that chair.
Well, yeah,
Like, I
he
think-
definitely has the most to gain,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
That's not how things are supposed to work. This is not normal.
That's the most poignant thing of the entire speech.
That's the name of the speech. This is not normal.
So these are extraordinary times. And they're dangerous times. But here's the good news. In 2 months, we have the chance, not the certainty, but the chance, to restore some semblance of sanity to our politics. Because there is actually only one real check on bad policy and abuses of power. And that's you. You and your vote. Look, Americans will always have disagreements on policy. This is a big country. It is a raucous country. People have different points of view. I happen to be a Democrat. I support Democratic candidates. I believe our policies are better and that we have a bigger, bolder vision of opportunity and equality and justice and inclusive democracy. We know there are a lot of jobs young people aren't getting a chance to occupy or aren't getting paid enough or aren't getting benefits like insurance. It's harder for young people to save for a rainy day, let alone retirement. So Democrats aren't just running on good old ideas like a higher minimum wage. They're running on good new ideas like Medicare for all, giving workers seats on corporate boards, reversing the most egregious corporate tax cuts to make sure college students graduate debt-free.
That went over real well at a college.
Yeah, right? No kidding.
We know that people are tired of toxic corruption and that democracy depends on transparency and accountability. So Democrats aren't just running on good old ideas like requiring presidential candidates to release their tax returns.
Oh, shots fired.
I love it.
This is when he really starts
he's
getting
gonna
into...
this is his wind up.
Yeah.
And barring lobbyists from making campaign contributions, but on good new ideas, like barring lobbyists from getting paid by foreign governments. We know that climate change isn't just coming, it is here. So Democrats aren't just running on good old ideas like increasing gas mileage in our cars, which I did and which Republicans are trying to reverse, but on good new ideas like putting a price on carbon pollution. We know that in a smaller, more connected world, we can't just put technology back in a box. We can't just put walls up all around America. Walls don't keep out threats like terrorism or disease.
You're messing me up. I want to watch Obama when I listen to him.
And that's why we propose leading our alliances and helping other countries develop and pushing back against tyrants. And Democrats talk about reforming our immigration system. So yes, it is orderly and it is fair and it is legal, but it continues to welcome strivers and dreamers from all around the world. That's why I'm a Democrat. That's a set of ideas that I believe in. But I am here to tell you that even if you don't agree with me or Democrats on policy, even if you believe in more libertarian economic theories, even if you are an evangelical and our position on certain social issues is a bridge too far. Even if you think my assessment of immigration is mistaken and the Democrats aren't serious enough about immigration enforcement, I'm here to tell you that you should still be concerned with our current course and should still want to see a restoration of honesty and decency and lawfulness in our government. It should not be Democratic or Republican. It should not be a partisan issue to say that we do not pressure the Attorney General or the FBI to use the criminal justice system as a cudgel to punish our political opponents.
Shots are fired.
Oh yeah.
Or to explicitly call on the Attorney General to protect members of our own party from prosecution because an election happens to be coming up. I'm not making that up. That's not hypothetical. It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say that we don't threaten the freedom of the press because they say things or publish stories we don't like. I complained plenty about Fox News, but you never heard me threaten to shut them down.
Now, there was some argument about that particular point that he had apparently banned Fox News from certain press gatherings at one point or something. I don't remember all of the details, but I remember that was a sticking point.
Wow. Yeah, I don't remember that.
Or call them enemies of the people. It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say we don't target certain groups of people based on what they look like or how they pray. We are Americans. We're supposed to stand up to bullies, not follow them. We're supposed to stand up to discrimination. And we're sure as heck supposed to stand up clearly and unequivocally to Nazi sympathizers.
This is the best part of the whole damn speech.
Yep.
How hard can that be? Saying that Nazis are bad.
Nazis are bad, okay?
I'll be honest. Sometimes I get into arguments with progressive friends about what the current political movement requires. There are well-meaning folks passionate about social justice who think things have gotten so bad, the lines have been so starkly drawn, that we have to fight fire with fire. We have to do the same things to the Republicans that they do to us, adopt their tactics. Say whatever works.
You're going to quote Michelle
Make
Obama
up
now?
stuff about the other side.
Should.
I don't agree with that. It's not because I'm soft. It's not because I'm interested in promoting an empty bipartisanship. I don't agree with it because eroding our civic institutions and our civic trust and making people angrier and yelling at each other and making people cynical about government, that always works better for those who don't believe in the power of collective action. You don't need an effective government or a robust press or reasoned debate to work when all you're concerned about is maintaining power. In fact, the more cynical people are about government, the angrier and more dispirited they are about the prospects for change, the more likely the powerful are able to maintain their power.
Put a pin in that.
Right?
That is huge.
Yep.
But we believe that in order to move this country forward, to actually solve problems and make people's lives better, we need a well-functioning government. We need our civic institutions to work. We need cooperation among people of different political persuasions. And to make that work, we have to restore our faith in democracy. We have to bring people together, not tear them apart. We need majorities in Congress and state legislatures who are serious about governing and want to bring about real change and improvements in people's lives. And we won't win people over by calling them names or dismissing entire chunks of the country as racist or sexist or homophobic. When I say bring people together, I mean all of our people. You know, this whole notion that has sprung up recently about Democrats needing to choose between trying to appeal to white working class voters or voters of color and women and LGBT Americans. That's nonsense. I don't buy that. I got votes from every demographic. We won by reaching out to everybody and competing everywhere and by fighting for every vote. And that's what we've got to do in this election and every election after that. And we can't do that if we immediately disregard what others have to say from the start because they're not like us. Because they're white, or they're black, or they're man, or a woman, or they're gay, or they're straight. If we think that somehow there's no way they can understand how I'm feeling, and therefore don't have any standing to speak on certain matters because we're only defined by certain characteristics.
This is a very clear mirror that he's holding up right now. Mm-hmm. And while I could see that someone listening to this might hear that might be pointed towards one party over the other,
Mm-hmm.
it's not. It is meant for all of us. Somehow, we all have to be able to come to the table and sit down and figure out some of these issues. And we can't just put up the proverbial wall and say, you're a Republican, I'm a Democrat. We're just different.
Right.
And we're done here.
Yeah.
There's got to be some middle ground to find somewhere. And that's what we're losing.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work if you want a healthy democracy. We can't do that if we traffic in absolutes when it comes to policy. Now, to make democracy work, we have to be able to get inside the reality of people who are different, have different experiences, come from different backgrounds. We have to engage them even when it is frustrating. We have to listen to them even when we don't like what they have to say. We have to hope that we can change their minds, and we have to remain open to them changing ours. And that doesn't mean, by the way, abandoning our principles or caving to bad policy in the interests of maintaining some phony version of civility. That seems to be, by the way, the definition of civility offered by too many congressional Republicans right now. We will be polite so long as we get 100% of what we want and you don't call us out on the various ways that we're sticking it to people. And we'll click our tongues and issue vague statements of disappointment when the president does something outrageous, but we won't really actually do anything about it. That's not civility. That's abdicating your responsibilities. But again, I digress. Making democracy work means holding on to our principles, having clarity about our principles, and then having the confidence to get in the arena and have a serious debate. And it also means appreciating that progress does not happen all at once, but when you put your shoulder to the wheel, if you're willing to fight for it, things do get better. And let me tell you something, particularly young people here. Better is good. I used to have to tell my young staff this all the time in the White House. Better is good. That's the history of progress in this country. Not perfect, better.
This is so important.
The Civil Rights Act didn't end racism, but it made things better. Social Security didn't eliminate all poverty for seniors, but it made things better for millions of people. Do not let people tell you the fight's not worth it because you won't get everything that you want. The idea that, well, you know, there's racism in America, so I'm not going to bother voting. No point. That makes no sense. You can make it better. Better's always worth fighting for. That's how our founders expected this system of self-government to work. That through the testing of ideas and the application of reason and evidence and proof, we could sort through our differences, and nobody would get exactly what they wanted, but it would be possible to find a basis for common ground.
I really think he's picked up on such a key thing that's happening in society right now on both sides of the political spectrum.
Yeah.
Where we've all lost sight of the ability to compromise. Admittedly, we all have. We all want the perfect resolution. And that's just not always a thing.
And that common ground exists. Maybe it's not fashionable to say that right now. It's hard to see it with all the nonsense in Washington, and it's hard to hear it with all the noise. But common ground exists. I have seen it. I have lived it. I know there are white people who care deeply about black people being treated unfairly. I have talked to them and loved them. And I know there are black people who care deeply about the struggles of white rural America. I'm one of them, and I have a track record to prove it. I know there are evangelicals who are deeply committed to doing something about climate change. I've seen them do the work. I know there are conservatives who think there's nothing compassionate about separating immigrant children from their mothers. I know there are Republicans who believe government should only perform a few minimal functions, but that one of those functions should be making sure nearly 3,000 Americans don't die in a hurricane and its aftermath.
Ooh.
Yeah, especially right when Trump is, you know, making up fake news about how many people actually.
I'm like,
right?
There's nothing left, Dan. There's no
It's
drink
gone.
number 3. She drank everything. It's gone.
Well, that I don't know. That was 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe Dan's on drink number 3.
I don't know.
It's not entirely true. There's rum left, but there's
By
no
the
Coke
way,
left. What?
Speaking of the hurricane and the 3,000 people that died in Puerto Rico, and Trump coming out and saying that's not true, and what an asshole, first of all. There are people in North Carolina right now that are dying because of Florence. And freaking out at the same time because the success of Puerto Rico, air quotes, success of Puerto Rico is the standard. If you ask the president, that's his. He says that's a great job, or whatever he said. So if that was a great job, then do we expect that 3,000 more people are going to die?
Or do we expect that he's going to take better care of them
Because
because
they're
they're
not-
actually Americans, not like fake
Right. Like it just
territory Americans?
Right. Everybody keeps saying if people had called them Americans and not Puerto Ricans, maybe he would have understood that they were Americans. That's not a good excuse.
He would not
though.
have understood, no matter what you say.
Yeah, it's just it's so scary. We need to move somewhere where there's no hurricane.
Common ground's out there. I see it every day. Just how people interact, how people treat each other. You see it on the ball field. You see it at work. You see it in places of worship.
I might take a little issue with that.
Some places of worship.
Yeah, what, a UU church?
What?
A UU church? Yeah, maybe.
Well, that's not really a place of worship, though, is it?
No.
I mean,
I don't think that's the common ground.
See, okay, I think he has a
Common
point.
ground zero.
I think in some respects to the definition of common ground, yes, you can see that in churches.
Okay.
You see churches that can be,
You're
non-denominational.
right. No, you're right.
You
There's
see
some
churches
that are
where
okay with
you
gay
know,
people
they're-
get married, and
or they're okay
yeah.
with black people worshiping with white people, or there is room for it, and there's proof that it's possible. But
right,
it's very minimal.
But to say that common ground exists doesn't mean it will inevitably win out.
Mm-hmm.
History shows the power of fear. And the closer that we get to Election Day, the more those invested in the politics of fear and division will do anything to hang on to their recent gains.
Like pay for Russia to come in and interfere.
Fortunately, I am hopeful, because out of this political darkness, I am seeing a great awakening of citizenship all across the country.
Okay, this is why we included this in the good news. I need you, Obama, to make me feel better about what's going on right now. Please.
Just save this as an audio file.
I
and
cannot
just
tell
play
you
it
how
next week.
encouraged I've been by watching so many people get involved for the first time, or the first time in a long time. They're marching, and they're organizing, and they're registering people to vote, and they're running for office themselves. Look at this crop of Democratic candidates running for Congress and running for governor, running for the state legislature, running for district attorney, running for school board. It is a movement of citizens who happen to be younger and more diverse and more female than ever before, and that's really useful.
Love the way he phrased
I was
that.
going to say, did you think that was awkward? Or?
No, I thought it was great, but only he could get away with phrasing it that way.
Yeah, right. It's true. Yeah.
Bill Clinton, could you imagine Bill Clinton saying that?
Oh, God.
We need more women in charge.
I'm out. Yeah.
But we've got first-time candidates, we've got veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan, record numbers of women, Americans who previously maybe didn't have an interest in politics as a career, but laced up their shoes and rolled up their sleeves and grabbed a clipboard because they too believe this time's different. This moment's too important to sit out. And if you listen to what these candidates are talking about in individual races across the country, you'll find they're not just running against something, they are running for something. They're running to expand opportunity, and they're running to restore the honor and compassion that should be the essence of public service. And speaking as a Democrat, that's when the Democratic Party has always made the biggest difference in the lives of the American people, when we led with conviction and principle and bold new ideas. The antidote to a government controlled by a powerful few, a government that divides is a government by the organized, energized, inclusive many. That's what this moment's about. That has to be the answer. You cannot sit back and wait for a savior. You can't opt out because you don't feel sufficiently inspired by this or that particular candidate. This is not a rock concert. This is not Coachella. We don't need a messiah. All we need are decent, honest, hardworking people who are accountable and who have America's best interests at heart. And they'll step up, and they'll join our government, and they will make things better if they have support. One election will not fix everything that needs to be fixed, but it will be a start. And you have to start it. What's going to fix our democracy is you. People ask me, what are you going to do for the election? Now the question is, what are you going to do? You're the antidote. Your participation and your spirit and your determination. Not just in this election, but in every subsequent election and in the days between elections. Because in the end, the threat to our democracy doesn't just come from Donald Trump or the current batch of Republicans in Congress or the Koch brothers and their lobbyists or too much compromise from Democrats or Russian hacking. The biggest threat to our democracy is indifference.
If this guy doesn't make you want to go out and register to vote tomorrow, if you're not already, I don't know how else to convince you.
The biggest threat to our democracy is cynicism. A cynicism that led too many people to turn away from politics and stay home on Election Day. To all the young people who are here today, there are now more eligible voters in your generation than in any other, which means your generation now has more power than anybody to change things. If you want it, you can make sure America gets out of its current funk. If you actually care about it, you have the power to make sure we seize a brighter future. But to exercise that clout, to exercise that power, you have to show up. In the last midterms election, in 2014, fewer than 1 in 5 young people voted. 1 in 5. Not 2 in 5. Or 3 in 5. 1 in 5. Is it any wonder this Congress doesn't reflect your values and your priorities? Are you surprised by that? This whole project of self-government only works if everybody's doing their part. Don't tell me your vote doesn't matter. I've won states in the presidential election because of 5, 10, 20 votes per precinct. And if you thought elections don't matter, I hope these last 2 years have corrected that impression.
Elections have consequences. He is really talking deep to the Democratic base right now. You apathetic, lazy fuckers,
Look what
get
you did.
involved.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you don't like what's going on right now, and you shouldn't, do not complain. Don't hashtag. Don't get anxious. Don't retreat. Don't binge on whatever it is you're binging on. Don't lose yourself in ironic detachment. Don't put your head in the sand. Don't boo. Vote. Vote. If you are really concerned about how the criminal justice system treats African Americans, the best way to protest is to vote. Not just for senators and representatives, but for mayors and sheriffs and state legislators. Do what they just did in Philadelphia and Boston, and elect state's attorneys and district attorneys who are looking at issues in a new light, who realize that the vast majority of law enforcement do the right thing in a really hard job. And we just need to make sure all of them do. If you're tired of politicians who offer nothing but thoughts and prayers after a mass shooting, you've got to do what the Parkland kids are doing. Some of them aren't even eligible to vote yet. They're out there working to change minds and registering people. And they're not giving up until we have a Congress that sees your lives as more important than a campaign check from the NRA. You've got to vote. If you support the Me Too movement, you're outraged by stories of sexual harassment and assault, inspired by the women who shared them. You've got to do more than retweet a hashtag. You've got to vote. Part of the reason women are more vulnerable in the workplace is because not enough women are bosses in the workplace.
Well, we can't all be Michelle, gosh.
Which is why we need to strengthen and enforce laws that protect women in the workplace, not just from harassment, but from discrimination in hiring and promotion, and not getting paid the same amount for doing the same work. That requires laws. Laws get passed by legislators. You've got to vote.
So he's winding into the home stretch here.
Yeah.
You could not tell. This is the campaign Obama that we've come to know and love.
Yeah.
Right?
When you vote, you've got the power to make it easier to afford college and harder to shoot up a school. When you vote, you've got the power to make sure a family keeps its health insurance. You could save somebody's life. When you vote, you've got the power to make sure white nationalists don't feel emboldened to march with their hoods off or their hoods on in Charlottesville
Yeah.
in the middle of the day. Minutes. 30 minutes of your time. Is democracy worth that? We have been through much darker times than these. And somehow each generation of Americans carried us through to the other side. Not by sitting around and waiting for something to happen. Not by leaving it to others to do something, but by leading that movement for change themselves. And if you do that, if you get involved and you get engaged and you knock on some doors and you talk with your friends and you argue with your family members and you change some minds and you vote, something powerful happens. Change happens. Hope happens. Not perfection. Not every bit of cruelty and sadness and poverty and disease suddenly stricken from the earth. there'll still be problems, but with each new candidate that surprises you with a victory, that you supported, a spark of hope happens. With each new law that helps a kid read, or helps a homeless family find shelter, or helps a veteran get the support he or she has earned. Each time that happens, hope happens. With each new step we take in the direction of fairness and justice and equality and opportunity, hope spreads. And that can be the legacy of your generation. You can be the generation that at a critical moment stood up and reminded us just how precious this experiment in democracy really is. Just how powerful it can be when we fight for it, when we believe in it. I believe in you. I believe you will help lead us in the right direction, and I will be right there with you every step of the way. Thank you, Illinois. God bless you. God bless this country we love. Thank you.
Now you gotta know how much that pisses Trump off.
He hasn't responded on Twitter to this though. Been pretty silent over there.
Yeah.
Donnie boy got his knickers in a twist.
What?
I mean, he's got a lot going on. Maybe he hasn't seen it yet.
What a great speech. I mean, that brings
Right?
you right back
Yeah.
to it, you
Mhm.
know? God. Not just completely formed sentences. It makes
Right?
me long for a time when things were better. But keep those takeaways in mind. Perfection is not attainable immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take time to get there and go for better.
Yep.
Not perfect. All right, let's wrap this thing up. The best stories start with
Florida man.
a Lakuchi couple's argument became a little too heated Monday when, according to police, a woman poured hot sauce in her husband's eyes.
Ouch.
Deputies were called to the home after they began arguing, charged Esmeralda Martinez Lopez, 41, with domestic battery, and released her Tuesday on $500 bail. Don't name your children Esmeralda.
Right?
Are you kidding me? Sorry. Sidebar. Deputies say Lopez struck her husband in the face before pouring hot sauce into his eyes. Lopez admitted to deputies that she argued with her husband but denied causing any injury. The second story. David Barwinski, 61, of Gainesville, was arrested, charged with theft, and banned from a Circle K. That is a convenience store / gas station for those of you listening in from Germany.
You said it wrong.
What?
It's not Circle K. It's Circle K.
Circle. Yeah. What? What's the difference?
This is the way you put the emphasis on the word. You said Circle K.
Oh
It's
my
Circle
God,
K.
it doesn't matter.
It so does.
No.
Russell, help back me up here.
Meanwhile, speaking of listeners from Germany, can I just mention we apparently have listeners from the UK, Brazil, Germany, Sweden, Ireland, France, Australia, Japan, Italy. Who are you people?
Wow.
Who are you people, and why have you not sent us an email
Send
yet?
us messages. Tell
Yeah,
us.
tell-
I mean, we have Google Translate, so if you can't type in English, but you can understand it, obviously you understand us if you're listening to us.
Anyway.
I mean, I know that's a thing.
Yeah. Anyway,
sorry.
Barwinski went into the Circle K. I'm just going to
I am going to freaking cut you, bitch.
Around 9 p.m. and was seen by a customer putting Starbucks Frappuccinos and Dunkin' Donuts espresso drinks down his pants.
What?
3 times. 3 times he left the store, out to his car to unload, and came back for more.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
A customer notified employees who called the police, and as he was putting drinks in the car, when he entered the store the 3rd time, an employee confronted him about leaving without paying. The employee told police Barwinski said he forgot to pay for 1 drink, placed it on the counter, and left. And the employee, an idiot, by the way, followed him out to his car and told him to return the coffee, and Barwinski yelled, "Fuck you!" Friends, if you work at a convenience store, hear me.
Oh my God.
If somebody tries to steal shit from your convenience store,
do not follow them.
let them take it. That overpriced garbage drink isn't worth your life.
Right?
And if you lose your job over that, fuck the job.
Yeah, the Circle K should have insurance to cover theft. But they won't cover your funeral expenses if you get killed because you're chasing some idiot out the door who's stealing coffee. Holy fuck.
Police arrived. Officers found a car littered with Starbucks Frappuccinos and Dunkin' Donuts coffee drinks, but suspiciously, no receipts. He tried to tell police he bought them at other locations. He was released from county jail early Monday morning without bond.
My brother backed me up.
I know, I don't care.
Listen.
Okay, your choices tonight. Hot or cold? You got hot sauce in the eyes, you got cold drinks down the pants. What's your choice?
Oh my gosh. I gotta go with my girl Esmeralda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hot sauce in the eyes, man. That would fucking hurt.
But you know what? She denied doing it, but God, that's a bitch ass move.
Yes.
Because, I mean, depending on the brand, that could do a lot of damage or not really. It's like pepper spray, kind of has the same ingredients as hot sauce.
Yeah?
Yeah. The peppers, that's why it burns, right?
10-4.
Got it?
Russell says hot. Dan says hot. Yeah. All right. I think the hot sauce wins the day. Jesus Christ. I can't thank you guys. It's 11:15. Holy shit, it's late.
Ugh.
I did not plan. I should tell you.
Actually, I asked her, hey, what are we talking about tonight? Oh, it should be a short show.
I was gonna do good news short show. We were not gonna spend all of this time.
You just wanted to drool over the old days and remember Obama, so you had to throw that whole thing in there. And
well, here's the problem.
But I don't know. We kind of need that right now.
Right. Well, so when I wrote all this up, I thought, all right, we've got enough stories to fill an hour, and the Obama thing is an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That should be good.
Be good, right?
So what that means is I interrupted an hour's worth of the Obama thing. We want to thank our patrons at
No.
What?
Somebody please help me. I'm being held here against
You are not. This is not true. God. Thank you to our patrons over at patreon.com/SarahTalk. Thank you all for staying up 3 hours with us this afternoon, this evening, tonight, to do the live show. That was longer than I intended, and I'm very sorry. But we'll see you next week. You've been listening to Sarah Talk.
Sarah Talk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. The opinions and information provided on this show are intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions are solely that of the hosts and their guests. We make no representations as to accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or validity of any information and will not be liable for any errors or damages. Sarah Talk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.